All right, all right, all right. Let's blast off. We got a lot going on, obviously, in the world. There's so much happening. Right-wing Twitter says shooter had a communist profile pic. FBI reveals the Dallas ICE sniper left behind bullets with a text anti-ICE on him. 29-year-old Joshua John committed suicide after killing 2 detained illegal immigrants. His profile picture on Facebook is a communist. Oh, brother, here we fucking go. Anyway, we'll look at all of that in a second. Hold on. Where was I? All right, let's blast off real quick, okay? Dallas ICE facility shooting details. Why does every shooter have inscribed messages on the casings? Honestly, that kind of makes sense. That could very well be copycats, because like when stuff like this happens once, like other people also make up their minds, and there is a copycat meta for sure. So that's not that surprising. But obviously the inscribings, as opposed to like who he shot at the facility, make not a lot of sense. But we'll obviously get into that in a second. We got the ICE facility shooting details. Trump yells at Kimmel's return. Italy sends warship to defend Flotilla after Israel strikes humanitarian aid. And Palestine recognition at the UN and more. Get in now. Yes, you already know what I'm going to say. Oh, you're so brilliant. You're so clever, chat. Twitch.tv/Hasanabi. Okay, who has a blast off meme? Yeah, big W to the neo-fascist administration of Italy. Okay? Which is pretty crazy. That it's like you got like a straightforward right-wing fascist Giorgia Meloni and her admin literally taking these kinds of initiatives. It blows my mind. They won't even do state recognition, but they're doing this. And I think part of that is because of the anger, because of the general strike that took place. These guys are not fucking around, okay? Italy doing national syndicalism for real? I don't think it's like that. I think that the unions are objectively against what Israel is doing for a good reason. Do you really think it's the dock workers that did it? Yes, I think so. Hassan, it's not happening. Maloney said no. Wait, what? How? They said they were going to do it. All of a sudden, Maloney said no. All right, well, we'll see. We'll cover it. Yeah, I did see the Germany polls, which I thought were really funny. Majority of supporters of every German party believe Israel is committing a genocide. Majority supporters of every German party see the truth that Israel is committing a genocide. Even the fucking AfD. Okay? What are we doing? Ay, ay, ay. Why? But the AfD and CDU think it's fire? Germany's a solid authority when it comes to genocide. Brother, Germany is a consistent defender of fascism. Okay? So the German government has been unimaginably pro-Israel. Being pro-Israel is in the German constitution. Like Germany is the last line of defense in Europe for Israel, okay? I've always said it's America and Germany. If Germany falls, Europe falls. There is no more support for Israel in Europe, in the European continent at all, if Germany gives up on it or leans into the democratic wishes of their voter base. And then the last remaining country will be the United States of America. It will be Israel and America alone. Obviously, Germany is never going to change their consideration. It's just, this is unsustainable. What's striking here is the divide between the public and elite opinion. The reality of the majority of the country recognizes is denied by the media, academic, and political elite. Do you not understand? What about Japan? Japan doesn't matter. I'm sorry. No disrespect to the anime enjoyers, but Japan is probably one of the most inconsequential nations on anything, on any international issue. It's just true. It's a vassal state. It's a vassal state with 50,000 almost troops. It's a completely captured vassal state that America wrote the Constitution of. Okay. A lot of people, I think, overextend the significance of Japan because they love anime or some shit. And they just think that it's like, you know, this is the reason why Japan is very important. Japan is at the table. It's like, nope, it's not. Okay. And also, predictably, Japan did not do state recognition. The Japanese public, I'm sure, has a different opinion on Israel, but that doesn't really matter, does it? Because democracy is fake. In all of the Western liberal capitalist countries, democracy is fake as fuck. Spain has announced that it's sending help too, just announced 15 minutes ago. Yo, you won't be saying that was a Gundam project gets off the ground? I mean, Japan, if they actually designed a Metal Gear, I think that they could be a real player in the international marketplace. But unfortunately, there's some significant setbacks there. Okay. Their anti-nuclear weapon stance, I think, has been a big problem, a big hurdle to clear. They need to do Metal Gear Japan. They need to do it. They need to actually do it. And once they do it, they can be a player. Let's go. Not a Gundam, a Metal Gear. A Metal Gear. Otacon. Anyway, yeah, we'll start off with the Dallas government, and then we'll talk about the Israel-related stuff in a little bit. But as of now, there's not much information, but a gunman, a sniper rifle, shot at an ICE facility in Dallas. And of course, when you first hear that, you go, oh my God, this is yet another instance of like the violence that they were talking about, this administration was talking about against ICE agents. But of course, the difference in this situation was the targets weren't actually the ICE agents at the facility, but instead those who were detained at the facility. They shot and killed. The shooter shot and killed 2 people. Okay. Per NBC, Joshua John grew up in Allen, Texas, where he was in Boy Scouts, unemployed, but previously had done coding, registered independent, once charged with delivering marijuana. His older brother, he wasn't interested in politics on either side as far as I knew. Yes, I didn't talk about the daughter of the senator, the New Mexico state legislator who went to Israel. It was really funny, though. I saw it last night. I will talk about that as well. Okay. It turns out apolitical Andes are the people you need to fear the most. Not the political Andes, but the apolitical ones. All right. Anyway, we'll get into it now. Gunman kills 2 at ICE immigration facility in Texas. Channel 4 News reports.
A huge police presence near an Immigration and Customs Enforcement field office in Dallas. A main artery northwest of the city center cut off after a gunman opened fire, reportedly from a nearby roof.
I met him once and he was unbearable. You met the shooter? Oh, you're talking about the rep, the New Mexico rep. Jesus Christ.
Police called to the scene at 6:40 local time.
The DPD was able to locate the shooter, who was deceased. We're going to be working this investigation shoulder to shoulder with our federal partners.
The investigation centered on the building next to the ICE Enforcement and Removal Center. The shooter firing from this roof, reportedly killing 2 detainees and leaving a 3rd critically injured in hospital. The FBI saying no law.
Asmirad is trying to make this about you. Wait, what? How? He's not even live. Is he? He tweeted. I mean, I don't really care what he has to say. And I'm sure I have more pressing matters and more significant ops than Asmongold, who will, of course, use this as an opportunity to stamp out any sort of political discontent, political dissent against the administration, and certainly the ICE practices and whatnot. So it's not remotely shocking to me that a lot of people will do this.
Enforcement officers were hit, but releasing this image of bullets found near the dead gunman.
I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence.
Yeah, this is like this is an incredibly strange piece of evidence, I will say, because even with a Charlie Kirk situation with Tyler Robinson, like the bullets have Chow Bella Chow on them, right, engraved on them. But then and he's shooting Charlie Kirk. Like there is a through line, like a logical through line there, right? If you present it as if you present the victim in this circumstance, Charlie Kirk, is like a fascist, and you're like anti-fascist or something like that still makes some logical sense. Whether it's correct or not doesn't matter. But in this circumstance, he's saying like he's anti-ICE. Okay, but also he's shooting at the detainees. He like shot and killed people who he would be supposedly trying to release, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But let's take a look.
The evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
But also, look. All I'm going to say is this. Even fucking Aaron Rupar said, this is the fishiest shit I've ever seen. We're supposed to believe the shooter wrote anti-ICE in pen on a bullet, then shot detainees, but not ICE officers. Like, anti-ICE in and of itself is such a strange, it's such a strange thing to write as well. Like, he didn't say like fuck ICE, he just said like anti-ICE. Like, what? Like, it's kind of giving Black's Rule, if you know what I'm talking about, for those of you who don't know. But I guess it might have been that he shot at something. Breaking news update: Shooter fired into an unmarked van transporting ICE detainees in Dallas. Detainees were struck inside the van. 2 people inside were killed and one was injured. The shooter died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, sources say. So that makes a little bit more sense as far as like what he was targeting. So then that makes a little bit more sense as far as like the shooter being anti-ICE for sure, even though the bullets saying anti-ICE is just strange in general.
Again, this is just the most recent example of this type of attack.
Since President Trump came to power promising to deport 1 million undocumented migrants a year, ICE has become the public face of his hardline immigration policy, carrying out raids on workplaces and car parks. Officers often marked.
I think one of the strangest parts about this is that given that the shooter shot and killed ICE detainees, this administration that has literally presented the people that are being detained by ICE as violent criminals, that has actually done everything in their power to like put them in fucking alligator Alcatraz, dehumanize them, treat them like they're fucking Pokemon, are now going to turn around and be like, what a heinous crime that this shooter committed. It's like, bitch, you want that crime. You're basically doing that. Okay? You're basically doing exactly what this shooter is doing, but for a more convoluted, from a more convoluted and technically not illegal perspective, I guess.
Pulling people off the street. Field office attacked today, subject to a bomb threat last month. A month earlier, a detention facility, also in Texas, attacked in what authorities said was a coordinated ambush.
For those of you who don't know the history of the Bracero program, and in the aftermath of the Bracero program, and I've talked about this before, in American history, in the aftermath of the Bracero program, there were mass deportation initiatives that were being taken place. And in this very same state, the state of Texas, you had ranchers with guns running around looking for marshals to shoot and kill. The reason why they were doing that is because they did not want their neighbors to be apprehended. They did not want their farmhands to be apprehended and mass deported. This is in American history. This has happened in American history. Not to say that this person is not like operating on some fucking left-leaning ideology or whatever, but just understand that this has happened throughout American history. Okay? This is not new. I have brought this up on numerous occasions. I've brought this up a lot. People get very frustrated when mass deportations start taking place, and then they take matters in their own hands in a country like America where everybody has fucking guns and a proclivity to do violent things, and then they do shit like this.
That left a police officer shot and injured.
To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop.
Bro, this dude killed detainees, and these guys are still talking about the fear that ICE agents have to experience on a daily basis. Once again, there is no consideration for the victims here. There is no consideration for the victims who were already apprehended and were presented as people that were slated to be deported from the country for the crime of being born on a different side of the fucking border. And what they're going to do in this circumstance is basically make it so that it's illegal for people like myself to say, you shouldn't do this. You should not engage in mass deportations. They're going to say, how dare you say that? You're threatening the lives of ICE agents. No, I'm not. I'm not doing that at all. Political violence is unacceptable. Obviously, I have never advocated for political violence. I don't advocate for political violence. But it doesn't matter. The violence coming from the system here is also unacceptable, and we should be able to talk about that. Yeah, they're going to make it so that you say fuck ICE or abolish ICE is a hate crime. That's what they're trying to do.
It has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis.
This attack coming 2 weeks after the assassination of right-wing activist Charlie Kirk in Utah, prompting White House pledges of a crackdown on left-wing organizations that it says constitute a domestic terror movement. America's political divisions, its culture wars, getting bloodier and more dangerous by the day.
We begin, though, with Brooke Taylor. She is on the ground in Dallas with an update for us right now. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, guys. Yeah, officials spent most of this press conference.
Chat, remember, mass deportation of random people for no serious crimes whatsoever is not violent, okay? Is not violent at all. You know what the real violence is? Calling that out. Don't you dare call that out. Don't you dare say this is an inherently violent act that you are engaging in that is unjustifiable, that is cruel for no reason whatsoever. Don't you dare say that. That's the real violence. Calling us out is the real violence. Exhibiting discontent is the real violence. It's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, mass deportations and mass apprehension, not violent. Saying we shouldn't do that and we should actually offer conditional amnesty to every single person that has been living on U.S. soil, that hasn't done any crimes or anything, and are simply just trying to make ends meet. That's the real violence. Don't you dare do it.
Talking about how this anti-ICE rhetoric has to stop, or you have this violence like this happen. Federal agents, they're just trying to enforce the law, these officials say. The FBI is now investigating this as a targeted act. Here is what we know. Homeland Security says that before 7 a.m., a sniper started shooting from a nearby rooftop and fired indiscriminately at the ICE facility, including a van that was in the Sallyport. DHS says 3 detainees in that van were shot, and at least one of the detainees was killed. The gunman then turned the gun on himself. Officials say no ICE agents were hurt. The FBI, though, shared pictures of rounds found right near that shooter with anti-ICE engraved on those shell casings. This is the latest in a string of targeted attacks on ICE facilities right here in Texas. At the same facility, a man was arrested for making a bomb threat last month. Then in July, a group ambushed officers outside a separate Texas ICE facility. One officer was shot and survived that shooting. Senator Ted Cruz was here at this press conference and spoke about this violence.
Violence has no place. It is wrong. And we should come together.
I agree. Which is literally the reason why I abhor and disavow and also consistently criticize the actions of this administration. Mass deportations is an inherently violent process. Okay? That's what it is violence. But a lot of people only experience that or only recognize that as like unjust and violent behavior when they see it happen to their immediate loved ones or when they see it happen in their neighborhoods. If they don't see it happen in real time and they're looking at it from afar or have no care or consideration for the people that are being apprehended, people that are being detained, people that are being deported, they literally, should we not kill more ICE? Man, shut the fuck up. You're such a bitch, dude. Imagine creating a fucking sock account, coming in here on this day specifically to be like, oh, I was listening to your demands, Antifa commander. Should we stop? Like, shut the fuck up. No one believes your bullshit, okay? Federal agents in the chat. Come on, dude. Motherfuckers over at Langley being like, this is gonna get him. We're setting up a real good case here, sir. Nice try, dude. Anyway, as I was saying, the way we interpret, the way we look at violence, the way we see violence is entirely dependent on whether we have any sort of up close and personal relationship with the victims or whether we see it happen in our neighborhoods. Okay? When it's happening elsewhere, when it's happening far away to people that you do not actually consider the humanity of, you have no capacity of recognizing it as like an inherently violent act.
If we want to have a debate about immigration policies, we can do so in the halls of Congress without demonizing each other and especially without demonizing the men and women who every day put on a badge and go risk their lives to keep us safe.
And of course, so many responding to this attack this afternoon. Vice President J.D. Vance posted a statement on X saying, quote, "The obsessive attack on law enforcement, particularly ICE, must stop." You also have Texas Governor Greg Abbott. He tweeted, quote, "This assassination will not slow our arrest, detention, and deportation of illegal immigrants." Again, guys, this happened outside of a processing center where illegal migrants are taken to get processed after they're arrested by ICE.
All right, Brooke Taylor in Dallas on the scene for us there. Stand
Be
by.
careful pulling stuff up on stream for this. The pick of the gunman after suicide is all over Twitter. Oh shit, I didn't see that.
I thank you.
All right, Bill Daley's a former FBI investigator and joins us now. I mean, this almost seems like a daily occurrence, Bill, that we have another day, the sun comes up, dawn breaks, and another politically motivated shooting. It's just no sign of stopping.
It's horrible, John. And you know, John, over these past several months and even the past since the administration took over, you know, we've seen this kind of push by politicians and other people around ICE facilities. They've gone as far as even some of these elected officials kind of, you know, trying to force their way in, stopping vehicles. So, you know, it is kind of a buildup of what we've seen over the past few months, only to this point to a deadly level. You know, I think a lot of people speak about this rhetoric. You know, I'll cite a few things, but I know a lot of people speaking about it, like to talk more about the investigation. But, you know, when you have elected officials calling ICE agents, you know, agents, modern Gestapo agents, or, you know, governors moving to not have masks on ICE agents because they want people to know who they are so they can go after them. You know, all of these things are lead up to people who might be prone, who are driven in a certain with ideology or direction, as we've seen today, and they carry out these horrific acts.
Bill, what is with this? I don't know if you would call it a trend, but for lack of a better word, the trend we're seeing where these assassins and mass shooters now like to try and carve little messages on shell casings before they carry out these shootings. Is this something that you have seen before the last few months, or is this new?
No, it is not new at all. Americans are a uniquely violent nation with an access to an arsenal of weapons, okay? And also, Americans are pretty fucking suicidal on top of everything else. In the past, suicidal dudes that wanted to make a name for themselves, that find themselves in the pit of despair, would go to a school and do this kind of thing, and nobody gave a shit about them. It became normalized. So now, in the aftermath of a couple high-profile assassination attempts with like Thomas Crooks and numerous other people now who also have that same exact tendency are looking at targets. They're looking at political targets. They're looking at high-profile political people, or they're looking at politicians in general. They're looking at ICE in general to exercise their violent desires against in an effort to make a fucking name for themselves. Because it turns out when 46 school shootings take place in the country, they're like, well, that's just going to be yet another school shooting that nobody gives a fuck about. Okay? And copycats are obviously super commonplace. This is just how it goes. Now the new meta, it seems, is to deliver a message or something. Back in the day, it used to be called going postal because you see a lot of postal service people do this kind of stuff, right? People would do this at their workplaces, and then it became schools that people would shoot up. The only difference now is who the targets are. The targets are more consequential in the eyes of the administration, in the eyes of the media.
This is, I mean, it may happen periodically over a period of time where individuals, murderers, or other people may do something similar to this, but it's not a trend. This seems to be certainly a trend. You know, we saw it with the Mangione shooting in New York against the United Healthcare CEO, where he left those bullets on the sidewalk. We saw it with Charlie Kirk's.
You're not taking this anti-ICE bullet marking seriously, are you? I mean, it looks strange for sure, but now that we know that the shooter was not now that we know that the shooter was not actually like directly shooting at detainees deliberately and was instead shooting at an unmarked van that it thought had a bunch of ICE agents in it, it does develop a profile. It does develop a motive that makes more sense. The anti-ICE part of the writings are so stupid, like, but you know, who knows?
shooter, and now here. So you hate to say copycat, but certainly all the hallmarks of it is within the past few weeks, months, if you will. We have people doing the same thing. The other thing, Jillian, I want to talk about is the FBI is investigating this. I think a couple of positive things to be taken away from this. A, law enforcement was extremely
This is a funny take. Law, only Americans think. Other Americans are some critical thinking people. I agree. We live in an absurd universe, man.
responsive to this. FBI there on the scene. I think under the leadership of Director Patel, they're trying to be very forward-leaning and transparent. That was mentioned both by the SAC, agent in charge of the Dallas office, as well as Director Patel, who came out and posted those images that you just referenced. So they're trying to be as transparent.
It did come out that he was shooting at a van that was going into the facility, Chatter. It did.
As forward-leaning as they can, and to help the American people not start to spin their wheels with worrying, who's this shooting, is that they were able to provide some clarity pretty quickly with releasing that photo.
I want to come back, Bill, to this idea, the rhetoric. This is Joshua Johnson, who's the I.C.E director there in Dallas. Here's what he said a little more than an hour ago.
This is the second time I've had to stand in front of you and talk about a shooter at one of my facilities. And I think that the takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees.
We should mention that there were the shootings at ICE facilities in Texas not long ago. Add to this. And then you have the shooter, who sources identified to Fox News as 29-year-old Joshua John. We're trying to find out more about this individual who takes a gun. Looks like, according to the stripper clip that we saw a picture of posted by the FBI director, that it was just a typical hunting rifle with a capacity of 5 cartridges. Takes that weapon, aims it at the ICE facility, starts firing at will, and then takes their own life. And is it this rhetoric that people just keep doubling down on that suddenly causes someone to snap?
Yeah, this question in and of itself is bringing the attention back to those who have a difference in opinion with the administration and those who understand that these mass apprehensions that are taking place are fucked up. Just as it was the case with the Charlie Kirk execution, these guys immediately turn around and go, you know what the real problem is? It's the people that are naysayers. It's the people that are not patriotic enough. It's the people that are not sufficiently pro Donald Trump. They are the ones who are causing this discontent, as though if no one was saying, hey, man, this is pretty fucked up, people would not actually come to that conclusion on their own. The notion that we cannot actually fucking criticize the administration for doing violent mass apprehensions of random people living on U.S. soil that are fucking working to make ends meet, like that we are not allowed somehow to say that this is wrong objectively when it is literally wrong is ridiculous. It's absurd.
With kind of borrowing a little bit from my behavioral analysis friends, you just don't know what reaches a individual and what breaking point they have. And although many people can kind of, flick this rhetoric off as being just that, political rhetoric, it does affect a number of people. And I think today, John, with all of the various sources that people get information, or ones that maybe want
they're going to come for people calling Nazi-style individuals a Nazi-style individual or a fascist, or they're going to come for people that are calling ICE Gestapo. Of course, the real problem here is the administration's carte blanche approach to unlimited cruelty to those that they have designed as enemies of the state. Random fucking neighbors of ours, okay? 1 in 14 families in this country have one undocumented parent, okay? 1 in 14 households in the United States of America have at least one undocumented migrant. Think about that. That's what they want to do. They want to go after 1 in 14 households, and we can't even say that that is fucked up. We can't say that that's fucked up. We can't say, like, hey, man, there's an alternative out there, which is called documenting these people. They're just human beings. Nope. You have to say that they're violent animals that are here to destroy the country. Otherwise, you're an enemy of the state and you must be punished. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous.
Lock themselves into with regard to social media and news outlets, and they're hearing it over and over again. the fragility of people where they are at any particular moment may lead them to commit one of these acts. But the other thing too, John, as we look into this investigation, and the FBI is doing this right now, is to find out, where did this person, where were they getting this information from? Where was he being, if you want to call it, kind of radicalized to conduct one of these acts? Who was he around? Was he talking to other people about this? It's the same thing they're going through right now, still on the heels of the investigation of the Charlie Kirk assassination, is to find out who else might be in the orbit of this person who may have either encouraged, provided information, in any way knew about these plans and didn't come forward. So, there's still a lot of stones to be turned over in this investigation.
Why didn't they talk about the rhetoric when it was the Walmart shooting, the El Paso shooting, the Albuquerque shooting, the Buffalo, New York shooting, Dylan Roof? Do you want to know why? Because those guys were objectively right-wing, openly far-right, anti-government extremists of the white nationalist variety. What they've decided now is that even if you have someone who is of that background, you can just get away with fucking lying. Okay? You can just get away with lying. That's all you need to do. Just lie and claim that the shooter was a leftist, like they did in the Minneapolis shootings. Both in the first Minneapolis shooting, with Democratic congresspersons, Democratic state legislatures being targeted, you could just claim that the shooter was a leftist or whatever, and people will just go along with it. No fact checks necessary there. Or even with the Annunciation Church shooting, where the profile and the background of that shooter was very clearly a far-right, white nationalist, esoteric, nihilistic neo-Nazi, right? No leftist is ever going to put the names of prominent white nationalists and white supremacist shooters on their fucking gun or talk about it in their fucking manifesto. But it doesn't matter. That didn't stop right-wingers from going along with this narrative that these guys were leftists. They're just creating a profile or creating an environment of hysteria. And the reality of the matter is that just like when the Democrats did not actually engage in any sort of counter-messaging initiative to correct the record on migrants not being this out-of-control violent force that was destroying the American social fabric, they are completely lost in the fucking sauce. They don't know. They're completely oblivious of what the administration is doing now. They're creating another manufactured hysteria around left-wing violence. And the Democrats are not turning around and saying, you're wrong. Violence is a constant. It's devoid of any sort of ideological background in the United States of America. But if we were to look at political violence, more often than not, it is actually the right that is engaging in political violence, not the left. And for years and years, the right did not do a single fucking thing. It is mind-boggling to me that all of our leaders are just lost. They're gone. They're nowhere to be found in this process. They're nowhere to... They're not saying anything. They're not correcting the record. They're not even remotely invested. Not realizing the warning signs. Not realizing that the administration is, once again, whipping up an entirely new manufactured hysteria that they will use to erode the First Amendment. They will use to basically stamp out any kind of political discontent. And it will not stop with radical elements in American society. It won't stop. If you think that it's just going to be people like myself, for example, you're wrong. It is going to be anyone and everyone that says, I don't really fuck with what this administration is doing. The Jimmy Kimmel attempt was a great example of this. Not quite correct. Kash Patel literally does not know who Dylan Roof is.
White supremacist propaganda murdered 9 black parishioners in Charleston in 2015. Do you deny this?
I'm sorry, Dylan Roof?
Roof?
The director of the FBI doesn't know who Dylan Roof is. Dylan Roof is one of the most high-profile white supremacist shooters. I cannot believe that he does not know who Dylan Roof is. Under different circumstances, I would say he's lying, right? I would say he's obviously lying. He knows who fucking Dylan Roof is. But in this day and age, the incompetence, the sheer incompetence from this administration is so obvious that I don't know. I don't think he knows who fucking Dylan Roof is. I don't think he knows. I totally believe that he is that stupid.
Roof, can you give me some more information?
You're head of the FBI, you probably know this. If you don't know, that's fine.
Okay. You can give me a reminder. I've got a lot in front of me.
It was national news. Robert Dylan Roof, who followed.
God damn, he's so fucking stupid. We got absolute nutters leading. We got the fucking nutters leading the madhouse. Oh my God. What do you expect? Of course, for context historically, specifically in Texas during the Eisenhower administration in response to Operation W Back, it was the Republican farmers who went out and ran marshals out of town. Exactly. That's what I was talking about. I literally talked about this before. I explained this throughout the election cycle to tell you how much anger and resentment builds when these kinds of mass deportation initiatives start happening. When Eisenhower did this, it was the Republican right-wing ranchers that literally would go around town in their fucking pickup trucks with weapons to hunt down marshals, because at the time it was the marshals that were conducting these mass deportation operations. This is before INS or ICE ever existed. There was no Department of Homeland Security, for example.
This week about mask mandates for ICE officers, a new rule proposed and put forward by Governor Gavin Newsom. Take a listen to what he said on Saturday. I want to get your response.
I'll be signing a bill, the first in the nation.
Yeah. Again, this is what I meant when I said they're going to go after anything and everything. Gavin Newsom makes a perfectly reasonable initiative in the state of California, which demands that public servants actually follow the law, and they can't hide their identity when they're conducting these operations. There is so many good reasons for this provision to exist. Why, you might ask? Because if you have faceless, masked, armed thugs of the state that don't present their identification, that don't have to present their identification, you can have copycats. This has already happened. There are plenty of people who have been arrested for falsely presenting themselves as ICE agents to kidnap and sexually assault people. Okay? That's a real thing that has happened in America in the last fucking 9 months. These guys are public servants. They have no right to hide their identity in the process of taking away someone's liberties. Like, what are we talking about? I can't even comprehend how this has become a point of contention, that it's like, no, you have to actually shelter the public from who their IDs are. There's a reason why people's badge numbers are on their fucking chest, or used to be, right? What are we doing? What are we doing? This also protects ICE agents as well. Technically, if every single person that is supposedly acting out the way that the law is designed, right? If they're doing this lawful order, following a lawful order by the administration, there is no reason to try and hide your identity, because you're following the rules that the administration has presented. And it protects ICE agents because then people are in a country where everybody has a fucking gun. People don't immediately assume that it's a random group of people that are trying to engage in a fucking kidnapping in broad daylight. Okay? Because if you don't know that these group of masked thugs, okay, that are coming at you from an unmarked car, for example, are actually following a lawful order by the federal government, or if they're just a bunch of random psychopaths who want to kill you, if you don't know the distinction, if you don't know the difference because everyone is masked, then sometimes people are going to engage in an act of self-defense.
Saying enough. ICE, unmask. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
How does that play into all of this when we're talking about the identities of specific individual ICE agents?
Yeah, well, I can tell you what they're afraid of. They're afraid of something that occurred today, and they're afraid of something that may happen to them or their families if they're identified. We're not talking about normal, everyday police operations where people in patrol cars or FBI agents are out there conducting, everyday activities. But when they're involved in these more contentious issues, which seem to be in certain locales more contentious than others, is they're very much concerned about their well-being and safety of themselves and their families, who may come under attack. Could be everything from people showing up at their doorstep. Very easy today, a couple of clicks away, you can find out who somebody is by an image and therefore where they live. So those are the things people are concerned about. So I mean, you have to really, when the governor says that, you have to say, well, what is he then saying? He's saying that it's okay for all these people to then be further exposed because what? They're carrying out their duties as sworn law enforcement officers of this country, carrying out the laws have been prescribed by Congress. So, I mean, I think we have to take a look at that very sobering. The other thing, Jillian, is that, with a lot of the talk about, people having due process. Well, today, two of these people who are being just detained are denied their due process because they've been killed.
Right.
So when you flip that around, you have to say, what is really happening here when someone's willing to take not just someone's life, if the intention was to take an ICE agent's life or ICE agent's life, but also the due process of those people who are just being.
Dude, even the potential for an ICE agent's life that could be taken is an issue of higher consequence in the eyes of these people than the actual victims in this process who were detained people that were slated for deportation. Understand that they do not even remotely give a shit about all of the people that they're detaining, so much so that they just glance beyond that point because they can't even make that argument. They can't even say like, the poor souls that were lost here, because every rhetorical tool that they've used has been to dehumanize the people that are being detained so that people are more comfortable with this mass detention process. So they can't turn around and be like, the poor souls that were slain, the poor souls that were murdered in this process. It's like the hypothetical violence against ICE agents is more consequential for these people than the actual people that were killed. They're not real people in the eyes of Fox News, the right broadly, the administration. The people that are being deported, detained and slated for deportation are not seen as real people ever. It is crazy. How the fuck do people not realize this, man? Yeah, just a reminder that Republican candidate Valentina Gomez posted a video simulating the execution of a migrant in December. And then they turn around and they go, violent rhetoric, violent rhetoric, violent rhetoric.
Detained. They've not been convicted, and there's been no other specific allegations lodged against them, and their due process now has halted.
Yes, you have a gunman who allegedly was anti-ICE by the inscribings on the cartridges, the shell casing, and it ended up that it was detainees who died here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You mentioned this idea of risk and danger for agents who go out there every day, and they are just merely carrying out the laws of the United States of America. We heard personally from one of them back in July on Martha's show.
If they are carrying out the laws of the United States of America, and as a law enforcement officer acting on the orders of the federal government that have unimaginable power, the power to take a life without any accountability whatsoever, the power to actually take away someone's freedom, they have to do this in a lawful manner. And a part of that is doing it in a way where you know that this person is an ICE agent. You know this person is a member of law enforcement. You know what his badge number is. You have identifiable features, and they cannot mask themselves. But as I talked about before, the way that the Trump administration is gearing to change the domestic terrorism designation, which does not exist, right? Like there are no domestic terror groups, for example. You have to be foreign funded in order to be declared a terrorist organization. But now they're trying to do Antifa. They're trying to make Antifa into an organization, even though it's not a defined organization at all. In that executive order, even demanding that an ICE agent show you identification is considered doxing. Okay? So they want to make that an act of terror. If you're in the process of being detained by an ICE agent and you turn around and say, I'm an American citizen, can you please show me identification? I don't know if you're a fucking agent or not. Who the fuck are you? That's considered doxing. That's illegal. They want to make that illegal. Understand that they're manufacturing outrage here. They are trying to create an environment where people are more comfortable with what the government is going to do next. They have done so for every single issue so far. They've done this with immigrants. They made it so that the only message that you ever heard was this hysteria surrounding migrants, migrant crime. Migrants are killing 300,000 people a year, 400,000 people a year. It was fucking ridiculous. It was completely made up. It was unimaginably racist at times as well. Like when they said Haitians are eating cats and dogs and shit like that. These were lawful These were lawful migrants that had the proper documentation and the clearance to work on U.S. soil, by the way. They had temporary protected status. You're right, what's next? I'm telling you exactly what's next. They're not hiding it. They're not sheltering you from what they are going to do next. The only reason why you'd be oblivious to what happens next is if you are not paying attention, or if you're only getting your information from liberal media, from mainstream sources that are seemingly lost in the sauce, that don't understand what the fuck is actually taking place right in front of our eyes. Just like they were blinded or blindsided, either willingly or they were oblivious to this reality, to the consent that was manufactured to even start this anti-migrant mass deportation initiative. What's going to happen next is stamping out any kind of discontent. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be illegal, even though we have a First Amendment still right now that is supposed to protect this kind of awful political expression, political demonstrations and whatnot. I'm telling you right now, they are going to make it so that it's illegal to say fuck ICE, basically. Okay. And it doesn't matter if you are a liberal or even a former Trump supporter that says fuck ICE. You are still not covered. You are still not going to be protected, because the goal here is to make that illegal, to make that expression illegal. The goal here is to basically destroy any kind of political dissent. They want to undermine and destroy the First Amendment while simultaneously presenting themselves as the protectors of the First Amendment.
Story. Her name is Selena. Listen to what she told us.
I'm very proud to say that I work for ICE, and to have to take off my polo or, hide behind so that way my family is not put in danger or my colleagues are not put in danger. And I'm very, like I said, proud to work for ICE, and to have to kind of put my polo down or my badge away for.
At no point do these people go, maybe what we're doing is fucked up. At no point. If you're proud, why do you have to hide? Oh, it's the threats. It's the fears. Unironically, that fake narrative, that bullshit fucking narrative for law enforcement is making this environment less safe. It is an inevitability at this point that someone is going to think that they are being kidnapped by some random fucking people coming out of an unmarked car and literally exercise their fucking Second Amendment rights. They're going to try to do castle doctrine eventually. How can people not realize this? This is I'm fearful of the repercussions. I'm fearful of what comes next. I don't want that to happen. All the while, we're not even considering the consequences of these kinds of initiatives. Like, not only are they unpopular, but they're not good at all. They're not for the betterment of society. Like mass deporting random people that are working in farms and mass deporting people at their court dates, outside of their court dates in the courthouse. Like, how is that good for anybody? You designed a manufactured hysteria around the supposedly violent undocumented migrants that were not being apprehended and that were not being arrested by the previous administration. This was bullshit. If someone, regardless of their documentation, commits a heinous crime, of course they were prosecuted and subsequently deported as well. It is ridiculous. They lied about every step of this process. They made it seem as though previously ICE was woke and the woke judges and the woke cops would just let people go. Fucking ridiculous. Oh, wow, you've decapitated 8 babies, but you're a Guatemalan migrant? I guess we have to let you go. Fuck. Joe Brandon is too woke. Like, what are you talking about? That's not what happened. Of course that's not what happened. We've always been a nation of laws, okay? Regardless of what people say. Sometimes it actually gets a little out of hand, as a matter of fact. And not a single fucking Democrat turned around and said, what are you talking about? Everything you're saying is a lie.
The safety of us.
So she says that when she's not on the streets there doing her job, she's got to go unidentified because of the potential risk to her or her family.
Yeah, video shows ICE
Exactly
with a
right,
5-year-old
John.
girl
And it all
while
ties
agents
back to
attempt to
what we
arrest
first
their
started speaking
father.
about.
Yeah.
It's this rhetoric. It's when elected officials are out there on national television saying that, these ICE agents are modern day Gestapo. Well, what are you supposed to do? I mean, if somebody heard that, during...
What do you mean? It's true. And not only is it true, but it's also protected speech. What the fuck are we talking about? What are we supposed to say? How you do not get to dictate the way that people criticize the administration. That is goddamn un-American. What the fuck are we doing? That's not even allowed in other countries where they already have hate speech enforcements either. Like there's no nation state on the planet that isn't like a straight up dictatorship where you can't say the government is behaving like a fucking fascist administration and they just apprehend you. You know where they do that? In fucking Turkey they do that, okay? That's ridiculous. Turkey does not have a First Amendment. They don't have free speech there. It's ridiculous that in a country like the United States of America, we can't even fucking say the truth out loud anymore, where you're like, oh, sorry. It's just hurting people's feelings. It's like it's fomenting too much discontent, because at the heart of this matter is precisely that. You are making people too angry.
World War II, what are they inclined to do? They act out.
Turkey seems really based. Man, shut the fuck up. Go live there then, dumbass.
People in the fashion who are law enforcement officers of the country, sworn to uphold the current laws of our country, of not being guided by politics here, but by the law. And they very much concerned about their safety, and it makes sense that they need to protect themselves. So, I hope there's superseding federal statutes that will allow for all these federal officers and ICE agents to continue to cover themselves in states like California and other jurisdictions where they need to do it.
All right, Bill, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for taking time with us on this story.
This needs to stop. Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong. It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of law enforcement. I want to say...
Wow, so brave. Thank you, Ted. So brave of you. A lot of people can't say this out loud, but I want to thank the boys in the blue. Thanks, Ted.
Say thank you to the...
Yeah, also, you would think that this guy shot and killed ICE officers. He did not. He shot and killed detainees, by the way. But of course, from the way that these press conferences have been designed, you would think that this guy went and shot and killed ICE officers, ICE agents. That's not the case.
Brave men and women of ICE and CBP and everyone who puts their lives on the line to keep us safe. The divisive rhetoric tragically has real consequences. I hope that every one of us will pray, number one, for the safety of law enforcement that are risking their lives to keep us safe. Number two, for the health of those who were shot and injured today. We still don't know the full details of who was injured, but for the families also of the victims of this shooting. Violence has no place. It is wrong. And we should come together. If we want to have a debate about immigration policies, we can do so in the halls of Congress without demonizing each other, and especially without demonizing the men and women who every day put on a badge and go risk their lives to keep us safe. And we should not be...
Like, these people, I don't think regular Americans can completely comprehend this, because like I said, they have this idea that state violence is a constant, it's normal, it's normalized, it's supposed to happen, right? So they don't actually perceive actions of the state as inherently violent actions, no matter how violent they may get. There are instances where some people at least recognize it as violent actions, like when a cop straight up assassinates someone who is unarmed in broad daylight, you know what I mean? But they don't realize that all politics is about the distribution of resources and the distribution of power. And a part of that is violence. Who gets to do it? Who gets to be the recipient of violence? Okay? In theory, what we're talking about here is that when the state behaves in a violent manner, people are supposed to go people are supposed to say, okay, that's permissible, right? That's appropriate. That is the design of the state. It's done to protect as many people as possible, right? Because the state has a monopoly on violence. When cops go in and brutalize someone, or when cops go in and even arrest someone, even someone who deserves it, that is permissible violence, right? Because you are taking away someone's freedom. You are basically shackling them for an extended period of time, if not permanently for the rest of their lives. And there are instances where that is appropriate. Okay, there are instances where that is totally appropriate. If someone's a fucking serial killer, of course it's appropriate for the cops to literally arrest them, apprehend them, detain them, put them behind bars to ensure that they don't kill again, right? But that broad analysis does not factor into all state violence. People don't look at a situation like when ICE agents are doing the same thing to people that haven't done heinous crimes, that have simply crossed the border or got a visa at some point and overextended and stayed after their visa told them to leave, basically after their visa was over, and are simply working a regular honest day's job in a field somewhere, or as a barback, or in a fucking restaurant, or in a hospitality industry. Like, those people are not doing something that justifies this level of apprehension, that justifies their freedoms being taken away from them. Those people deserve to be documented. Those people deserve to have the proper clearance to continue working inside of U.S. borders. You can say you are wrong, and that's fine, but you have to explain to me why that is bad for the overall societal good. Why is that a bad thing? Okay? This is how discourse is supposed to take place, but these guys don't want to have this conversation any longer. They just simply want to apprehend people, detain them, arrest them, deport them, rip them away from their families, rip them away from their everyday existence, and kick them off into a concentration camp elsewhere in El Salvador or in other countries that they are not familiar with at all, and just make them into people who have to do slave labor elsewhere. Okay, this is completely ridiculous. Like, the crime does not match the standard of violence that the state is applying. Okay, and everybody understands that reality. That's precisely the reason why Trump basically started off this conversation about mass deportations by lying about migrants, by saying that migrants were all serial rapists and bloodthirsty murderers. Okay? Because if everyone was on board with just like doing this kind of thing to their fucking neighbors, he wouldn't have to lie and say that every single Guatemalan migrant is actually doing mass rapes and mass decapitations all around the country. He wouldn't have to lie. He could just be like, they're not here legally. They need to go. We need to fucking throw them in a slave labor colony in El Salvador. Okay? A million dumb fucks on X are posting the same incorrect images of the shooter, and the poor guy is replying on his account asking them for them to stop. I don't even know what the account is that people are posting. I haven't seen more information, but I mean, the dude's name, I think, is like Joshua John or something, and obviously that's certainly more than one person. So of course that's going to happen on Twitter. The shooter, of course, died. So he killed himself. And obviously people are just redirecting their attention to whoever the fuck they see fit. Why can't they work in their country? Great question. Perhaps it is because their agricultural output is completely destroyed, for example. That could be one reason. That could be one fucking reason why they can't do that. But ultimately, you're asking this question, but you're also not presenting an argument as to why it's bad that they're working here. You're not telling me why they're somehow different than your parents that also immigrated here at a certain point. Okay? You're not. This is wrong guy's account. He dispelled some misinfo in his replies. Yeah, his username says not the ICE shooter. It seems to me like he's just like posting this one. Jim Hansen. I've seen some people claiming Joshua John was a furry based on a pic from his Facebook. Seems more like he was a commie since the hat matches the one on his avatar. The image on the left is prepubescent me, not the shooter, from over a decade ago. I'm not associated with the image on the right. The hat has no meaning. It's just a stupid hat I was wearing at the time. Delete this post. Will they delete that post? Probably not.
Putting language out there that inspires madmen to commit evil crimes. Our prayers are with the men and women of law enforcement, and we ought to come together and have some decency across the political aisle to say this violence is wrong and it needs to stop.
Senator, have you been told that immigrant detainees were the victims of today's shooting?
My understanding is the details of who the victims are still being ascertained, so I don't want to go ahead of law enforcement releasing these details. What they have said is that no law enforcement was injured, and so that's a natural inference, but I don't know the details.
Not going to stop me from making a statement, though. But yeah, they have this and this. FBI reveals the Dallas ICE sniper left behind bullets with the text anti-ICE on him. 29-year-old Joshua John committed suicide after killing 2 detained illegal migrants. His profile picture on Facebook is of a communist. It's a glorious exposition comrade is the meme that's on the profile picture, which is another way to say cool story, bro, right? I've never seen Aaron Rupar tweet like this. Yeah, I saw that. Even the libs are hitting this is the fishiest shit I've ever seen. Aaron Rupar is a liberal. I've never seen Aaron Rupar turn around and go, this is the fishiest shit I've ever seen. We're supposed to believe the shooter wrote anti-ICE in pen on a bullet and then shot detainees, but not ICE officers. Now, again, information in situations like this, information comes out in real time. There is obviously a lot of mass misinformation being disseminated, okay? As far as the shooter's background goes, as far as the shooter's leanings goes, I'm sure the FBI will do everything in their fucking power to make it an associate of Antifa or anti-fascist violence or whatever the fuck they're trying to present as like the real fear that you must, or transgender people, you know what I mean? Like the real enemies of America, right? All the while, of course, J.D. Vance came out hot. The obsessive attack on law enforcement, particularly ICE, must stop. I'm praying for everyone hurt in this attack, for their families. And then there was a community note. According to an ICE spokesperson, the 3 individuals shot were ICE detainees, leaving 2 individuals dead and 1 injured. No law enforcement was injured in the shooting, according to law enforcement and news reports out of Dallas, Texas. John Favreau says the vice president is not a reliable source of information. This is now the 5th or 6th time he's posted a political take contradicted by facts from his own law enforcement agencies. And then J.D. Vance turns around and says, the gunman had anti-ICE messages carved on the bullets he used. What precisely did I get wrong, dipshit? That's the vice president, man, beefing it out with one of the Podjons. And no, the shooter did not carve anything onto the fucking bullets, allegedly. I want to know what the other messages were on the bullets. But here is the latest statement from our deranged Department of Homeland Security. I need you to understand something, okay? I need you to understand something. This is something that I've been bringing up quite a bit, okay? When these institutions drop all notion and pretext of impartiality in an effort to pursue the truth, when they become unreliable resources, all hell breaks loose. The reason why people are less invested or less ready to believe whatever the fuck the FBI says or the DHS says now more than ever is because they see the Department of Homeland Security from that same fucking account post Pokemon memes. Okay, when you do that, when you become an unserious agency, how the fuck do you expect people to take you seriously? This is incredibly destabilizing, okay? I am no liberal by any means. You know this already. One of the things that I criticize liberals is about the infallibility of institutions, the defense of institutions. But unironically, this is one of the problems when these fucking institutions are not actually defensible. What is this fact check? What do you mean? What? It's not like fake. Yeah, we all saw it. What are we talking about? Why does this require a fucking fact check? Homeland Security posted a video featuring Pokemon theme song where they made the individuals that they're detaining and apprehending, they made them out to be like Pokemon. Gotta catch them all. What are we talking about? When you do stuff like that, or when you're Kash Patel and you are a patently unserious person in broad fucking daylight and you come out with information like this, people are obviously not going to be immediately, they're just not going to believe you. You become an unbelievable person. Every time you do fucked up shit like this, you become less believable in the eyes of even Republicans, as a matter of fact. This is part of the reason why even Republicans are like, maybe it was Israel that killed Charlie Kirk, and they don't even fucking believe the FBI. This is what happens when you're unprofessional. This is what happens when you are openly biased. This is what happens when you reveal fake information or false information without actually taking this investigation seriously. I'm using the Tyler Robinson case because that was a major issue for the FBI. That was a major issue for the Department of Homeland Security as well. And these guys seemingly post like there's no tomorrow. They don't give a fuck. They have made a joke out of all of these agencies. And the same goes for lying as well, like flagrantly lying. This kind of stuff makes a mockery of the seriousness of these institutions, the seriousness of these agencies. It robs them of the credibility that they need to have so that there is like some semblance of authority when they speak. But then also on top of that, they routinely fucking lie. Like, for example, that same account lied and claimed, the Department of Homeland Security account, lied and claimed that there was no 5-year-old that was detained while agents were attempting to arrest their father. They said it was gross. It was gross to lie about this. It's on camera. It's quite literally on fucking camera, dude. So when you do that, when you just lie like this about immediately verifiable information, you turn into Israel. Nobody believes anything that Israel fucking says. Nobody trusts Israel. That didn't happen due to unlimited anti-Semitism. That happened because Israel kept fucking lying so flagrantly and so openly about things that we could fucking see with our own 2 eyes that now, whenever an Israeli envoy says anything, I assume the exact opposite. And many Americans do as well. Many people around the world do as well. There is a healthy amount of skepticism that you develop when you openly bastardize the unimaginable influence that you have as a position of authority. If you're using the position of authority to just fucking lie all the time, people are going to be like, I don't trust you. Even your own fans, even people who are on your side ostensibly are going to not trust you. And we saw this with the example of Tyler Robinson. The FBI made a mockery of the agency by having Kash Patel speak on all of this shit. And now nobody even trusts the FBI when the FBI says, oh yeah, well, I don't know who the shooter is, or the shooter's background is this or that. And now people think, nah, it's actually Israel. Fuck you. Those are not my people who say that. Those are not, anti-fascists or leftists who say that. Those are right-wingers who are saying that. Those are people who love Donald Trump who are saying that now. Good luck. What the consequence of being untrustworthy if they have all the power? They're just dabbing on us endlessly. And I don't know what the inevitable outcome of this is. Well, ultimately, the consequence is, whether they are intending for this to happen or not, the consequences of this are mass instability, right? Like when you lose your own side because you have lost credibility even with your own base, then no one is going to trust you. And when no one fucking trusts you, when no one at all trusts you, then you can't have authority. This creates chaos. This is the social fabric eroding in front of our eyes, okay? The social contract eroding in front of our eyes is pure chaos, pure anarchy. And not like anarchism, the political ideology. I mean like anarchy in the colloquial sense. It turns into a fucking free-for-all. These guys have treated these institutions like they're nothing, like they're just another organ of propaganda, and really silly and really stupid propaganda. And of course, a byproduct of this is going to be that people don't fucking trust them. What is the expectation? This morning, a deranged gunman attacked the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE Dallas field office from a nearby rooftop. The shooter fired indiscriminately at the ICE building, as well as at a van in the Sally Port where the victims were shot. 3 detainees were shot, 2 are deceased, and the other is in critical condition. The gunman was found with a self-inflicted gun wound. We can confirm the shell casings were found with anti-ICE messages on them. This was an attack on ICE law enforcement. This horrific attack occurred amidst the 1,000% increase in assaults against ICE.gov. Politicians and the media, pundits must stop with the vile lies and smears designed to demonize and dehumanize ICE law enforcement. This shooting must serve as a wake-up call to the far left that their rhetoric about ICE has consequences. DHS is working with partner agencies on the ground. Please join us in praying for the victim and their families. President Trump and Secretary Noem stand with the men and women of ICE. Like, they don't even give a shit. They don't even, they just, you know, it's just a talking point for them. Like, oh, pray for the victims. But also, if you fucking criticize ICE, we're coming for you. Yeah, a bunch of fucking professional victims, dude. It's like you're being too mean to the Gestapo is a crazy statement to make as they're engaging in mass apprehension initiatives against people that don't deserve it. It's that simple. You know what I mean? And now 2 people that don't deserve the detainment are killed. They were shot and killed. And these guys can't even fucking give them the dignity, because obviously giving them the dignity in this moment would mean that those are human beings. And if you actually recognize that those are fucking human beings that were unjustly being detained in this regard, in this way, then obviously it kind of blows the lid on the entire ICE operations, right? All of a sudden you're like recognizing the humanity of these victims, then people are going to start asking the question, why the fuck are you detaining them then? What have they done? And I don't know what crimes these people had done in this circumstance. But what I do know is that the overwhelming majority of people that are being detained are not being detained because they've done heinous crimes, but they're simply being detained because the administration wants to prove to the most racist people in their base of support that they're doing something. That's it. They are simply pawns, easily discarded for a message. And it's interesting because that message has not been received positively by the broad subsects of American society. People who have seen this are now turning around and saying, I don't like this. Why are you arresting these people? You lied to me. You told me that these guys were all like rapist pedophiles, and the guys you're arresting are my fucking neighbors. They didn't do shit. Donald Trump is underwater on his immigration agenda. It was his most popular policy. And now he is underwater on immigrant apprehension. No thanks, JD. I will not be going straight to hell today, though when I watch you speak, I certainly feel like I'm already there. Oh, God, with these dunks. Anyway, yeah, here's JD Vance also using this as an opportunity to continue the anti-left rhetoric to try to say, like, oh, it's the left that is doing this. We have to stop them. Where do you think it will go? Where do you think this will go, for the record? This is going to inevitably lead to the administration taking action, okay? The administration taking action against any sort of political dissent.
And while we're all mourning and rooting for and praying for everybody who was injured at that ICE facility, and as far as we know, it looks like some of the detainees, in other words, some of the potential illegal aliens, were some of those who were affected. Look,
he can't even, see, this is what I mean. He can't even recognize the humanity of those who were apprehended, who were shot and killed. Because if he does, then all of a sudden, it leads people to question why they're doing this. Why are you doing this to regular humans? You should be doing this to violent, barbaric, rapist monsters, not regular human beings. Do you understand?
just because we don't support illegal aliens, we don't want them to be executed by violent assassins engaged in political violence either. So we're praying both for our ICE agents, but also for everybody who's affected by this terrible attack.
Praying for our ICE agents again, but also maybe the detainees as well, who are illegal aliens. Like, if calling a right-winger a fascist for demonstrating fascist ideology is violent rhetoric, what is calling a fucking detained person who was just slain an illegal alien? What is that? Words or violence doesn't go in one direction only. It goes in both directions. But these guys want to maintain whatever kind of violent, dehumanizing rhetoric they want to fucking engage with. And then when you say that that violent and dehumanizing rhetoric is identical to the way that Nazis fucking operated, you go, whoa, that's words or violence. Words are violence. How dare you? At its root, this is something that many of you have probably experienced, right? Someone says something racist. You call them out and you say, hey, man, that's racist. They yell at you for calling them out. It's not the racism demonstrated by that person that's a problem. It's that you are calling it out. You're the problem.
And while we're all mourning and rooting for and praying for everybody who was injured at that ICE facility, and as far as we know, it looks like some of...
Here's the other thing that he said.
Because here's what happens. Because here's what happens when Democrats like Gavin Newsom did say that these people are part of an authoritarian government. When the left-wing media lies about what they're doing, when they lie about who they're arresting, when they lie about the actual job of law enforcement, what they're doing is encouraging crazy people to go and commit violence. You don't have to agree with my immigration.
My thoughts are the administration is doing this since there are millions of people breaking into our country illegally. You do realize that Obama and all the Dems are deporting millions as well too, right? Why does it only matter when Trump does it? Ugh. Take this to someone else that has defended the mass deportation policies of previous liberal administrations and not the one fucking guy who has been actively yelling at the Democrats for doing the exact same thing. There are plenty of people who are not morally consistent on this. Okay, there are plenty of people who are hypocritical on this. I'm not one of those people. Oh my God. It doesn't make any sense because, like, imagine if you actually won this argument on the virtue of hypocrisy. Like, what argument have you won? Is it bad or is it good? What's the argument? I believe it's bad. You want to know why I believe it's bad? Because these people are not harming anyone. As a matter of fact, they're actually helping people, okay? They are literally contributing to the economy. Not that they have to, they're human beings. They simply just want a better life. There is no difference between someone who has come into this country from Guatemala versus your parents that were on fucking Ellis Island, okay? There's no difference. They are just human beings. I do not believe that there is any significant difference between one person over the next. The only difference is that the administration has taken their sweet time deliberately to not offer them the proper documentation. That's it. Many of your great-grandparents, when they first came here, unless they're directly WASPs, were also treated in a similar way. Undesirable. Ruining the culture of America. Now, you, many generations removed from that kind of dehumanizing rhetoric, are comfortably a part of the white identity. Okay? Whiteness as a socio-political construct has expanded greatly. Those whose great-grandparents came here as Italian migrants also were met with violence and dehumanizing rhetoric at the point of entry into the country. Now, that seems fucking laughable. It seems ridiculous to consider an Italian person to be not white or to consider an Irish person to be not white. Anyway, everyone, I'm here to speak amicably, not be rude in any way, just asking asking questions to better understand. Okay, well, I hope you understand, Elon Musk 858. Yeah, swarthy German mentioning coming. I'm not even going to get into it, okay? Go back far enough, yes, Germans were considered not white by Benjamin Franklin himself. The only people that were considered white that weren't immediate WASPs, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, were French because Benjamin Franklin wanted to fuck French ladies, okay? That's why he was like, I'll make a consideration for the French. That's it.
Policies, you don't have to agree with Donald Trump's immigration policies. But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell.
So when 90% of them supported Obama on deportations, then they were all wrong, right? And ultimately they have to swallow crow since they were all on board. You might as well call 90% of the current Dems Nazis since they had the same mindset just a dozen years ago. Again, I have to repeat this. First of all, the 90% that supported Obama's deportation policies is a ridiculous number and it's not correct. But the percentage of Democrats that did support it, I did fucking call fascist. I did. Why do you think liberals constantly say I'm a fucking spoiler and I only want to divide the left? Dude, you are, again, you're in the community of a person who literally talked to elected representatives in the lead up to the election directly and said, you have to address the migrant panic that the Republicans are concocting. It is mass hysteria. And in the absence of any sort of counter message and in the absence of any sort of counter narrative that actually shows the truth, this is going to become a major problem. You can make up statistics all day, every day, but you can't actually come in here and say that to me, a person who has been an advocate for migrant rights forever. So no, I didn't miss your message. Now I read it, and it was just as stupid.
Together. But make no mistake, that conversation is inspired by the people you just saw on your screen.
All systems go on this.
I am often very reluctant to say that violent actions of an individual is
all
predicated
systems
by the
go on this, okay? hundreds of mass shootings conducted by Trump supporters being like, I love Donald Trump, that's why I'm killing black people or whatever. Doesn't matter. That's woke nonsense. Just move along, okay? And then all of a sudden now it's like the Democrats, the demon rats, they're demonizing our big, beautiful, brave ICE law enforcement agents by correctly calling what they're doing to be fascist.
Insane on the left. What Democrat is ready to look at this clown show that is now inspiring violence and say that will no longer speak for us who simply disagree? Gavin Newsom asks, what are ICE agents afraid of? The answer, Governor, is this.
Yeah, see,
this is what
this is how you know their anger is for everybody, by the way, because they're redirecting this to Gavin fucking Newsom. Okay? They're redirecting the animosity to Gavin Newsom. Shouts out to Gavin, by the way, Big Gav. Not my favorite guy, but at least I'm glad that he's like a magnet for all of the hate and animosity in these trying times. Why are they redirecting it back to him? Because he said, in the state of California, if you're a fucking law enforcement officer, you can't wear a mask and hide your identity. That makes total sense. The fuck do you mean? You're public servants.
That thousands of other conservatives shamelessly celebrated the assassination and called for more of them. Now imagine that in the same week, another right-winger shot up a country club while shouting
crying
MAGA.
like crazy. They're just like, the Republican mentality is about perceived victimhood. Like they're attacking Christians. They're attacking our way of life. They're attacking traditional family values. They want us dead. They want us dead over and over and over again. Okay? And in the process of that perceived victimhood, this perceived victimhood narrative that they channel, they get increasingly more insane. But because they're fucking professional victims, there are plenty of people in the base that also subscribe to this professional victimhood narrative. Like, think about that. These guys have all the levers of power and they're still fucking crying. They do all of their wishes. They get away with whatever the fuck they want to do. Unlimited violence to designated targets of the administration, vulnerable populations, whether they be trans, whether they be undocumented migrants or whatnot. And now also the left, right? Any expression of liberalism, any expression of empathy is now going to be punished. They have full control. People don't like what they're doing. So instead of addressing the democratic wishes of the majority of American society, they're just trying to stamp out people that say, I don't like this. This is fascism through and through. Okay? That's all this is. They are doing this at the behest of some of the most racist dipshits in society because they're not going to actually address the cost of living crisis. They're not going to actually offer you free health care. So they're just trying to throw red meat at key parts of their base. For the white evangelical Protestants, it was abortion, right? It was criminalizing abortion, making it a punishable offense, even though it's a part of healthcare, part of regular ass healthcare. And this was met with a lot of animosity, even from Republican voters, as a matter of fact. Then now they're turning around and giving a lot of the white nationalists in the base that are fearful of Mexicans and Guatemalans and whatnot, a opportunity to feel comfortable, an opportunity to say, hey, look, we got your back. We're doing things that we promised we were going to do. We're doing mass deportations. All the while, none of that is actually productive. It's not even good for the economy. It's actually very bad for the economy. And all you're doing is enforcing cruelty upon some of the most marginalized, some of the most vulnerable communities, just so a couple people can feel better because there's someone else that they can lord over, someone else that's lower than they are. And if you call that out, you're a fucking enemy. What's going to happen when it's not only, 60% of the American public that's against this, but 75% of the American public that's against this? What's going to happen when it starts eating away at the base? Are they going to arrest all of us? Is that what they're going to do? Do they think that, like, if you simply deplatform or arrest or make threats of deplatforming or criminal prosecution against those who are critical of the administration's actions, what's going to happen when you criminalize that? Do you think that's going to make people feel better? Do you think that's going to make people think, oh, you know what? Previously, I really didn't like that the fucking masked agents came to my neighborhood and packed up my neighbor that I like quite a bit. He's done nothing wrong. He's not a criminal at all. He just works at a fucking restaurant in the neighborhood. This person that was a part of our community. Previously, I didn't like that. But now that they arrested people who are saying that this is fucked up and wrong, demonstrating my feelings, now I actually believe it's a good thing. Is that what we think is going to happen? No, of course not. You cannot stamp out discontent, especially if you are not offering anything material to the base of support. If you're not giving them an immediate improvement in their lives and you do this kind of shit, people are just going to keep getting increasingly more and more angry. And when there is no pressure valve, because communication is a part of this process in a democratic society, a part of the process is you communicate your anxieties, you communicate your anger, you communicate your frustration, and you do so by going out and protesting, for example. When you make that illegal, when you make protests illegal, when you make saying that the administration is wrong illegal, people are going to still feel angry and they're not going to have a pressure valve. They're not going to have something that they can do to exercise their discontent. It doesn't go away. This anger is not going to go away. It's that simple. It's so dumb. And so just like you communicate to your, in air quotes, fans, insinuating violence, Nepo baby. Okay, man. Update, the Department of Homeland Security issued a correction Wednesday afternoon saying that as of 2:30 p.m. local time in Dallas, one detainee is deceased and two others are in critical condition.
Back to better parenting, to better education, to the fundamentals. It's not going to be something that happens overnight. But we
Genuine question. I don't agree with deporting anyone already on U.S. soil, but what do you think about Border Control? Do you think having an open border policy is better? I think at least we should do background checks. Yes, dude, yes. When what people are representing as like open borders is not this like anyone can walk over the fucking border. Yeah, of course there needs to be background checks, man. What are we talking about? Yes. We already have that, by the way. Once again, a lot of people just take the Republican framework and go along with it as though these guys are sincere, right? No, understand that your ideological opponents are reframing the narrative in a way that suits their purpose. They are bastardizing the message that you're putting out there. You have no obligation to respond to their insincere framing, okay? Oh, fuck. What are the chances of the two detainees that died that were in the U.S. legally? It could be the case. I mean, these guys detain legal, lawful, permanent residents as well, because right now they want to get as big number as many people as possible, right? In order to soothe the appetite for death and destruction by some of these fucking losers in American society. This is not like a majority opinion. Obviously, that's why it's unfavorable, right? But in the process of doing so, to get as many numbers as possible, they're just apprehending people who look Mexican. They're apprehending people who sound Mexican. They're doing it all the time. And there are a fuck ton of Americans with actual paperwork who were born on U.S. soil even, that get detained in the process. We don't even fucking know if these guys were actually here illegally. They might be, but we don't know. And it doesn't seem like these guys even give a shit about addressing whether or not these guys, like addressing the victims at all.
Greg Abbott, thank you so much for being with us here today. All right, we have a bit of breaking news now for you. It's about former FBI Director James Comey. We get to that next.
Yeah, they're also, I guess they're prosecuting James Comey or something. It's all petty grievances, man. It's all fucking petty grievances. It is crazy. So you think anyone whose background check is good, they should be able to just walk in? If someone is not harming anybody and they're going to be a good contributor to the American economy, why the fuck would you avoid letting them into the country? This is what I don't understand. Yes. The irony, of course, is that if you did not want people to come into the country, the easiest thing you could do is perhaps not ruin their fucking personal home countries that they're coming from, because no one travels thousands of fucking miles, oftentimes by foot, to go through treacherous terrain to simply fuck up the country that they're going to. They're not like, they don't have some sort of sinister purpose. They just want to fucking work. They want jobs. They want to make ends meet just like you do. We must address the reasons as to why migration takes place from Latin American countries, first and foremost. If you truly think this is a major imposition, which is not the case, by the way. It's not a major imposition. They just want a better life. And we're a large enough country, especially because there is no lump sum of labor unless there is a process of different tiers for who is allowed to work legally and who is working illegally. There is no lump sum of labor. When the population number grows, job opportunities grow as well. Can you show proof that illegal immigration isn't rising in numbers? What do you mean? Did I even say any of that? I mean, the Trump administration claims that they've stamped out illegal immigration now because of their violent detention strategies and whatnot. But anyway, Donald Trump has also released a statement, and we'll obviously return back to this situation later when more information comes out. I'm going to continue talking about all this other stuff as well. But Hassan, I know you're going to call me an anarchist, but I don't think we should base the idea of immigration being good or bad based on it being productive to our fucked up capitalist society. I don't even care about that, but I'm just saying it's such a fucking idiotic thing that it doesn't even make sense from a capitalist framework either, okay? They're human beings. You don't know what kind of potential they have. I'm just attacking the most common ways that people lie about undocumented migrants. Anyway, Trump says, I've been briefed on the deadly shooting at ICE field office in Dallas, Texas. It has now been revealed that the deranged shooter wrote anti-ICE on his shell casings. This is despicable. The brave men and women of ICE are just trying to do their jobs and remove the worst of the worst criminals out of our country. But they are facing unprecedented increase in threats, violence, and attacks by deranged radical leftists. This violence is a result of radical left Democrats constantly demonizing law enforcement, calling for ICE to be demolished, and comparing ICE officers to Nazis. The continuing violence from radical left terrorists in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination must be stopped. ICE officers and other brave members of law enforcement are under grave threat. We already declared Antifa a terrorist organization, and I will be signing an executive order this week to dismantle these domestic terrorism networks. I am calling on all Democrats to stop this rhetoric against ICE and America's law enforcement right now. The Trump administration is fully committed to backing law enforcement, strong borders, securing our homeland, deporting violent, illegal criminals, and fully rooting out the left-wing domestic terrorism that is terrorizing our country. Thank you for attention to this, for your attention to this matter. Democrats are so fucking stupid. Oh my God, they're not. If they cave on this, if they just like don't actually come out and say this is ridiculous, the reason why people are angry is not because Democrats are saying anything. The reason why people are angry is because you're deporting their fucking neighbors for no goddamn reason other than to distract people away from your inability to address the economic harm that they were fucking experiencing. If the Democrats don't come out and say that, they might as well just obey in advance and say, yes, you're right, Mr. President. We hate the evil radical left. And then they'll go get arrested too. What is this? James O'Keefe hits the Trump administration again over Epstein with a video saying Trump is protecting people by hiding the files. Senior DOJ Epstein investigator reveals Epstein was CIA, confirms rapes occurred while Bill Clinton was on the plane, says of President Trump, he's protecting a lot of other people. He's not protecting himself because there's nothing there. I've interviewed all the victims. There's never been an instance where Trump was on a plane with these kids and the rapes occurred. But that can't be said for Clinton, and it can't be said for others. The DOJ didn't want to go after Epstein because he's an asset for the United States and Israel. It's not talked about yet, but it's soon come out that he, Epstein, was a CIA informant. All these deportations and my wages haven't increased and my rent and groceries are only getting more expensive. Exactly. Who trusts James O'Keefe, man? Are you gullible? No, I don't. But it is important that a person who is a profoundly important Republican hatchet man is now seemingly turning on the Trump administration a little bit because this is how the right also moves on this issue. Slowly but surely. It's the same reason why I cover the Candace Owens conspiracies about how it was definitely Israel that killed Charlie Kirk. Okay? I cover everything. I cover all angles. My job is to correct the record and to look at the actual facts and examine them critically in an instance where people are spreading misinformation, and many people do it for partisan purpose. Sometimes they do it. Sometimes they do it in a way where it's not even, it's like somehow clearing Trump, but also simultaneously shitting on Trump for protecting Bill Clinton. Also, that narrative that he is designing here is unironically closer to the truth than any number of different Epstein-adjacent conspiracies that you have heard. Okay? idea that Donald Trump is protecting the super wealthy, including fucking Bill Clinton, is unironically the case. The real reason as to why he's not revealing the Epstein files or a client list is because he does not want people to pursue. He does not want people to be like, what the fuck? All of our societal elites were somehow connected to this like serial mass rapist, pedophile, sex trafficker that was very clearly an asset for U.S. and Israeli intelligence. Interesting. Remember, Donald Trump is a major dick rider of Israel. Okay, Israel says jump. Donald Trump says how high. What is this? I.C.E. Deputy Director Madison Shahan. Someone chose to come in and kill these detainees while they were being processed. Note how the administration officials don't have their story straight on this.
Shouldn't have been here illegally, but they didn't deserve to be executed.
Absolutely. They didn't deserve this at all. And, you know, there's a Justice Department for a reason, and they'll go through their due process. But somebody chose to come in and kill these detainees as they were being processed.
Are they processed like hourly? So if you're sitting up on the roof, you're probably going to see a couple of vans out during the day?
Absolutely, and especially in the morning. A lot of our operations take place in the morning. It's when we see a high traffic area. And the situation could have been much worse if there was even more detainees, even more ICE officials at the facility as this person decided to throw rounds into our facility.
You know, I mean, it's unthinkable. I mean, you're just going to work, you're doing your job.
Anyway, moving on from this, we are going to talk about Italy, which experienced a general strike 2 days ago where every single union, or many unions in the country, including, most importantly, the dock workers union, came out and said that they were going to do a mass action, mass mobilization, and a general strike because of the administration's inability to address Israel's unlimited violence. They had also presented in the past that they would stop all of the actions in the ports, stop all commerce altogether if the flotilla, which also had some of their rank and file members on it, the Gaza humanitarian flotilla that I covered yesterday that was shot at by Israeli drone strikes, if they were harmed, if they were stopped, that they would shut off the Italian ports. They would stop commerce altogether. Okay? An expression of solidarity. Another recognition for Americans as to why labor union power matters. Okay? And it turns out this actually worked because while some people have said that it's not true that Italy is actually sending a naval vessel to protect the Gaza flotilla, it seems as though the Spanish government has said they are going to do so. They're going to send their own vessel as well. But let's see. Italy's Unione Sindacale di Base, the rank and file union, has announced a permanent mobilization in 100 squares across the country in solidarity with the global Samud flotilla. In Rome, the protest will begin Friday in Piazza di King. Did I say that right? I don't know. Following the attacks yesterday involving drones and 12 explosions on 9 different flotilla ships carrying humanitarian aid for Gaza, USB warned that if authorities try again to stop the flotilla, the response will be immediate. General strike without notice. 500. Okay. USB is one of Italy's largest independent unions with tens of thousands of members concentrated in the public sector, logistics, transport, healthcare, and precarious or temporary work. Founded in 2010, it is known for its militant politics, strongly anti-austerity, anti-NATO, and anti-war. It has led strikes against privatization, labor precarity, and international wars. On the 22nd of December, USB led Gaza solidarity strikes that shut down ports and transport hubs across Italy. Its new call raises the stakes. Organized labor is now threatening nationwide walkouts to defend the flotilla's right to sail. Amazing. This is why organizations matter. This is why labor organizing matters. Okay? Now, the Spanish government is also taking note. Tomorrow, a maritime action ship will set sail from Cartagena, equipped in case it is necessary to assist the flotilla or carry out some type of rescue. It is, I will say, it does give me a sense of shame to see what our corporate captured labor unions are doing in the face of this kind of in the face of this kind of labor action that is an absolute necessity. Like I've said before, the people united will never be defeated. Okay, there are more of us than they are of them. Okay, this guy said They're just Hamas. What do real Italians think? Okay, this is a 29-month subscriber. Good one. Yeah. The entire rank and file of like one of Italy's largest labor unions is actually Hamas. They're all Hamas as well. Macron under pressure from his rival Mélenchon to stand up for the security of the flotilla in Gaza. Italy is stepping in to protect the flotilla threatened by the genocide army. What is France doing? 4 of whose deputies are on board to break the Gaza blockade. Who is Macron afraid of? Jean-Luc Mélenchon, my goat, says the truth once again. This kind of domestic pressure is exactly what matters right now, by the way. I wish that we had some kind of opposition party in the fucking United States of America that could constantly shit on Donald Trump in a similar vein, even for pure partisan politics. But of course, we don't have that here in this goddamn country because everyone is fucking stupid and cowardly. Oh, let's take a look.
Defense Minister says a Navy frigate has been sent to assist a flotilla carrying aid to Gaza. The flotilla is reported to have come under drone attack off the coast of Crete. The people on board posted this on social media. The global submerged flotilla said more than a dozen explosions were heard around the flotilla as it sailed off Greece late on Tuesday, with damage caused by unidentified objects dropped on deck. Some of those on board recorded messages. Here's one of them.
We just heard another attack right now. We know of 5 vessels that have been attacked by a bomb. You can clearly hear it, and again, another bomb was released. We do not know which vessel it is at this very moment. Raise the alarm. We are in international waters carrying only humanitarian aid. We have no weapons. We pose no threat to anyone.
The Greek Coast Guard says a European Union Borders Agency patrol boat had approached one vessel and saw no evidence of damage. But let's speak now to Dr. James Smith, a British A&E doctor who, as part of the flotilla crew, had to return back to the UK.
Like, think about, dude, look at the discontent and the action that these countries are taking right now. And then look at what we are predisposed with in the United States of America. They recognize what Israel is doing. They are demonstrating against Israel. And they're demonstrating to protect people who are taking action against Israel. Meanwhile, here in the United States of America, even though there are American citizens on those humanitarian aid ships that are seeking to go through the Israeli blockade, the unjustifiable Israeli blockade, okay, they have journalists on those ships as well. They have humanitarian aid that they want to directly deliver to the people of Gaza, okay, while they are being genocided by the Israeli state. What are Americans worried about? Fucking Jimmy Kimmel. Now, I'm not going to say that it's not a significant attempt by the administration to quash any sort of fucking political dissent, to try and force the FCC or to try and get the FCC to force these corporations to stop running Jimmy Kimmel because of the Republican distaste for Jimmy Kimmel's commentary. Okay? That is significant. It's a significant erosion of the First Amendment. But make no mistake, we are still busy with silly shit. Okay, we're still busy with silly shit. We're still busy with silly shit in a country that is perhaps most responsible for Israel's continued genocide. It's our money that is going over there to kill those children. It's our tax dollars. It's the weapons that we develop and design that Israel is using on the population. I'm with you, dog, but you were on Kimmel for 3 days also. Man, that's the reason why I was on it, is because any kind of encroachment against the First Amendment is a obvious fucking problem. Do you not understand? That's why I'm saying it's not insignificant. It is not insignificant that Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air due to direct pressure and threats by the FCC. That is still an erosion of American liberties. Okay? And even then, what did I say? I kept bringing the conversation back to the other attempts by the administration to successfully undermine free speech from the point of immigrant enforcement. To come to me and act as though I do not recognize this reality is so fucking stupid. Jesus Christ. I mean, here it is. In the aftermath of the Jimmy Kimmel situation, I said, Jimmy Kimmel's return to air is a step in the right direction. It is a reminder that Trump and his policies around stopping political dissent is not as popular as this website would have you believe. People must also extend this enthusiasm and fervor to protecting pro-Palestinian advocacy. To accuse me of dropping the ball on pro-Palestinian advocacy is so stupid when you clearly don't understand that a big part of the reason why an administration that comes after Jimmy Kimmel for tepid ass takes about the fucking administration are clearly going to destroy my opportunity to speak out against Israel. I understand that reality. I'm surprised that you guys don't.
Okay, but is, I understand, still in contact with colleagues aboard the ship. James, good to see you. What have they told you? What's been happening?
So, Lucy, last night, a series of what appear to be coordinated attacks, I believe now 15 attacks on the flotilla. The flotilla now comprises about 40 vessels, most of which are small sailboats, 2 slightly larger motorboats, all of which, as you just heard from that clip, are carrying humanitarian aid, water, food, medicine. I myself was with the flotilla for about 2.5 weeks. I was on several of these boats, and I can attest to exactly that. These boats are crewed by regular folks from the world over, lawyers, doctors, nurses, teachers, and so on. What we know about what happened last night, so we were still trying to get to the bottom of exactly what was used against the boats, but a series of quadcopters were flying very close to the boats and dropped onto several vessels what looked like flashbangs, very loud noise, very bright light, often used to disorientate and to intimidate. And then, of course, the communications line was jammed. The VHF radio, which is used for emergency communications, started playing music by the Swedish band ABBA. We believe that this might well be due to the peculiar fixation of the Israeli state on the participation of Swedish national Greta Thunberg.
Given that the
Is not an attack on you if organizing is such a big problem for the left in the U.S. Couldn't someone with such a large platform following like yours help organize blackout or strikes or other means of organizing the fight back? It's not an attack on me. It's an attack on, I guess, your inability to understand the logistics of planning something like this, a mass demonstration like this. Okay? You have to use the pre-existing organizations. Stop lying. Should I get nuggets or strips from Chick-fil-A? I'm super hungry. Stop lying. Invisible Mirror, thank you for the 100 gifted subs. Labor union collective action needs to be conducted at the union level. 41,000 people, if we all decided to collectively not go to work tomorrow, this would not actually change the dynamic at all, because there is no like organizing body that puts it together. It's like Reddit strikes or whatever people try to fucking pretend to put together are all inconsequential. Unions have to do it. There's nothing you can do. At most, what you can do is basically try to engage in like mass protest or something. Yeah, that's just 41,000 companies that have one employee not showing up for a day. And people are going to be like, why didn't he show up? I don't know. Agreed, you can't go out and call for a general strike, but as an activist, I constantly see the need for new structures. Are the established ones that are stagnant and concerned about contracts? This is only something that you can do from within. If you're a rank and file member, if you're already a part of union organizing, you can approach your union to demonstrate, to take action. Otherwise, it's just a sick day. That's not how this works.
The amount of aid on board the flotilla is so small. When the scale.
But 10% of the U.S. workforce in a union, they aren't an institution of power, is just fucking, isn't that just dogmatic Marxist cope? That is just so wrong. One singular sector, one singular union, the longshoremen's union could literally destroy the American economy. The Teamsters could completely shut down all logistics in this country. You are wrong. It doesn't have to be all unions. One union could completely shut down the economy. One union. Are you kidding me? That's the reason why it's illegal for many of these unions to even engage in work stoppages. It is the only power that they have. Work stoppage is the only power that a labor union has to make the companies meet their very reasonable fucking demands. Even the mere threat of a work stoppage is enough for the administration to come in and be like, we gotta listen to what they're saying. We can't have this happen. That is the reason why America has so many anti-union provisions, anti-labor provisions in their own rules, in their rule book. Yeah, a lot of U.S. unions can't strike without breaking contract. The UPS union is one of them. I used to work for it. I know. That is the principle of solidarity, however, that it doesn't matter. If a labor union takes this action and they have enough runway to protect their rank and file, this is why strike funds are important, okay? This is why they have a legal team. This is why they have strike funds. If rank and file get together and basically starve out the capital owners for an extended period of time, their interest in generating profits is going to inevitably kick in and force them to meet the demands of the labor union.
Need is so large, James. What was your motivation for being on board, for being part of the flotilla?
We're all unemployed. He doesn't need to worry about union. Wait, what? We can do it with this community. Let's do something similar with your community. Oh, this is one of the unfortunate consequences of having children in this audience, as well as adults that are union members in this audience.
Look, I mean, I don't think that anyone on the flotilla feels that the amount of aid will make a significant dent on the material conditions. This is a population.
Like when you say, what about right to work days? It doesn't matter. They can't, the whole point is they can't fire everybody, okay? And even if they did, the process of rehiring and retraining would be so unimaginably costly. These are all calculations that the capital owners have to make. What are we doing? That's why historically, this is how initiatives have taken place. That's why historically changes have been made in exactly this way.
Of more than 2.1 million Palestinians who are being subjected to genocide. The focus of the flotilla is not only to bring aid, but to draw attention to Israel's atrocities in Gaza, Israel's flagrant breaches of international law, and the failure of what's left of the international community to uphold its collective legal, political, and moral obligations. We know that direct action flourishes where political and legal systems fail to uphold the most basic values, the most foundational commitment to human rights. And the flotilla is doing what states have refused to do. Israel is perpetrating genocide against.
How dare you? Strips are way better. Didn't unions get disbanded back in 1950 during railroad strikes? Why did you dodge my question about the choice? Hasanabi, dodge. You didn't answer my question. Oh my God, shut the fuck up about chicken strips, man. Jesus Christ. Lock in, chatters. Lock in.
And it is incumbent upon all states, per the terms of the Genocide Convention, to act to break Israel's illegal siege. And really, that's the primary focus of the flotilla, to continue to draw attention to what Israel is doing to the Palestinian people in Gaza.
And James, in terms of your job as an A&E doctor, we have been hearing from 2 Australian doctors, surgeons who are working in Al-Shifa. They are barely functioning there. They describe just horrific conditions that they're having to operate in. And of course, so much of the rest of the infrastructure within Gaza has collapsed as well. I know that you've worked inside Gaza. I mean, what are you hearing from other colleagues who are in there at the moment?
Much the same as what you've just described. I mean, the situation in Gaza deteriorates day on day. Israeli forces have invaded Gaza City, where there was still some functioning healthcare facilities, some bed capacity. The Israeli tanks are now very close to Al-Shifa hospital. People, of course, being forced to flee towards the south. In the last couple of days, PMRS clinics have been repeatedly targeted.
They're not going to hit the but Hamas line. No, at this stage, if you haven't noticed, mainstream outlets are also responsive to the quite reasonable demands being made by the public. And it's I said this a while back. Mainstream media basically follows like this broadcast, but 6 months later. So if you see something that I cover, and when it comes to like broader recognitions as far as like the genocide, they're 2 years too late, right? But for a lot of things, for a lot of issues, like they initially thought that they could just like hide the anger and resentment that the public was experiencing and the demonstrations, and they thought they could consistently contextualize Israel's violence. And they kept that up for quite a while. But at a certain point, they have a higher priority of maintaining at least a shred of legitimacy, a shred of credibility. So if you got hundreds of thousands of people in the fucking streets being like, this is a genocide, we have to stop it, and they're just like, this is not a genocide, and there's no reason to stop it, you are all Hamas, then no one is going to look at mainstream outlets ever again. And as a matter of fact, they've already eroded what remains of their credibility. But the tonal shift coming now is a consequence of all of the public pressure. Okay? That's it. That's the only reason. Because it's gotten to a point where the majority everywhere in the Western world has realized that this is a genocide, it's unacceptable, and we have to do everything in our power to stop it. So they have to literally say it's a genocide. I mean, look no further than the New York Times, right? When the New York Times wrote that silly article about me in the style section about how I was accusing Israel of, in air quotes, a genocide, that was a couple months ago, right? Now the New York Times allows me to write a fucking op-ed where I say Israel is doing a genocide, and they hyperlink it to another New York Times op-ed from a Holocaust scholar, a Jewish Israeli Holocaust scholar, who is also calling it a genocide. So, like, the permission structure has expanded. It's no longer an accusation. It's now the objective reality. Maybe there's still a difference in opinion on this stuff, but that means that 6 months down the line, they are going to also, once the Overton window is shifted in the direction of truth even further, they will then say, these guys are actually denying the Holocaust. These guys are actually denying the genocide. We're not there yet. And obviously, it's totally understandable and totally reasonable for people to say too little, too late. But I still see value in continuing to push these institutions that still have a lot of credibility among people who have a lot of power, for example, a lot of executives, a lot of older people, to change their tone. Because I recognize that every single person is necessary in this fight, because it's obvious that these guys are not going to change. These guys are not going to turn around and do this out of the kindness of their fucking hearts. They're not going to do it. And if this administration in the United States of America didn't recognize that this was a deeply unpopular issue, they wouldn't be doing stuff like this. Trump will sign executive order on domestic terrorism networks. They're doing this because their agenda is unpopular. A strong administration that has this broad popular mandate would see no need to stamp out discontent. They'd just be like, all right, shut up. Keep chirping into the fucking wind, stupid. Nobody cares. We're doing the wishes of the popular. We're abiding by the wishes of the Democratic majority. Do you understand? It is only in your weakest moments do you engage in this kind of like fascist control over flows of information. This is not a time to stop. It's actually a time to keep pushing.
The Palestine Medical Relief Society, ongoing attacks on Palestinian healthcare and humanitarian workers, and of course on the entire population of Gaza, and still no tangible action from the
sailing in international waters. Again, the flotilla comes under attack by drones.
We just experienced a fifth attack. We need to assess which boat was that. Likely throwing flashbangs at our boats. It's very, very important that we stay on alert. Right now we are in a moment of full drone alert. We need to pressure the world for these attacks to stop.
In addition to physical attacks, the boats also faced electronic warfare.
And right now they're jamming our VHF, as you can hear. We do not know where this is coming from, the sound, but other vessels are experiencing the same thing. They're jamming our radio.
As news broke, people tried to contact their governments for help.
Israel just attacked United States military veterans on the global Samud flotilla. I need the U.S. Department of State to call Israel and tell them not to bomb U.S. veterans.
As the sun rose, Al Jazeera's Hassan Masood confirmed the details.
The fleet's ships were subjected to at least 13 attacks, during which repeated explosions were heard, targeting 11 of its ships.
Human rights activists heading to Gaza say they're undeterred.
Global Samud Flotilla, a peaceful, legal humanitarian mission, was targeted with more than 10 attacks. From the night prayers till dawn, these drones kept circling above us. This is psychological war to scare us and stop us from going to Gaza. We are not afraid, and we are determined. We will stand against this genocide.
Earlier this week, a U.S. envoy confirmed in an interview for the first time that Israel was behind one of the initial attacks on the flotilla in Tunisia.
Israel is attacking everybody. So if Israel is attacking Syria, Israel is attacking Lebanon, Israel is attacking Tunisia.
And as Israel's attacks continue, yet another appeal from the boats for accountability and assistance.
From an Irish perspective, I speak directly to the Irish establishment class, the media and political class right now. If anything happens to me or any of the other 21 Irish participants on this flotilla, we hold you responsible. I think I speak for everyone on this flotilla. We don't want to die. We don't want to be murdered.
In the last week, Greek protesters have called on their government to cut ties with Israel. In Italy, thousands went on strike in a show of solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza.
I'm telling you, man, they can't keep this up. It's going to get to a point where they have to make another consideration. They have to recalculate. Do we just erode all notion of liberal democracy and recognize that we are a fascist authoritarian government? And this is the same for every single country. Or do we actually listen to the totally reasonable and totally just demands being made by the majority population? This is why I keep repeating over and over again. This is the strongest we have ever been. Okay? This is the strongest we have ever been. That is precisely the reason why these governments are trying to actively make people fearful of demonstrating. Okay? I hear you, but despite this, it keeps happening. Okay, but it doesn't matter because a year ago, you would have never expected actual European countries to not only recognize the state of Palestine, which is, again, conditional, it's symbolic, it's bullshit for the most part, but also simultaneously fucking send naval vessels to protect a mass mobilization of humanitarian workers that are trying to cut through the unjustifiable Israeli blockade at a time when they're continuing to do genocide to the Palestinian population. That didn't happen out of nowhere. It takes time. I totally understand that as human beings, okay, we have a finite amount of time on this earth, and therefore we have a very narrow understanding of what it takes for change to be implemented. But these things do have the capacity to move very fast, and it's happening in ways that I even did not foresee. It's happening faster than I thought it was going to happen. You have to have patience in the face of unimaginable cruelty. There is no other way, okay? There is no fucking other way. Israel has already lost the battle as far as global recognition. It will never be seen as anything but a pariah state ever again. As I kept repeating over and over again, especially over the course of the past couple of months, I said, this is the most popular Israel will be today. And tomorrow, Israel will be even less popular. Okay? And the day after, it will be even less popular. And as long as discontent keeps growing, as long as people realize that this is unjustifiable, that they stay strong, they stay resilient, and they have to for the people, for the sake of the people of Palestine, for those who have been martyred, to honor them, and for those who are still alive, to make sure that their lives are preserved. You have to keep doing this. For many of you, you have only recognized the cruelty of the Israeli state after October 7th. So for you, you look at this and you don't understand what things used to look like a decade prior. You have no understanding of that. So for you, you're like, what the fuck's going on? I totally understand why you feel the way that you do. But if you were around for the past 10, 20 years and you recognize this reality 10, 20 years ago, this is completely unprecedented. This level of mass mobilization internationally is completely unprecedented. It's directly cutting through the multi-billion-dollar lobbying and influence peddling network that Israel has designed with no pushback whatsoever over the course of the past 80 years. You have to keep doing this, but I will sit at my elitist desk and talk about it. That's really funny that you're saying that, because I don't just sit at my elitist desk and talk about it. I fucking go outside and I go and talk at fucking rallies too. Not that it makes a difference for you, because you don't know that. Or even if you did, you just want to still present this as me just sitting at my fucking desk. Never seen you at one? Oh, so it must not exist. Are you a baby? Do you have no object permanence? You do realize that this means that you're an idiot, right? I am a baby. I can tell. I've only seen you at your desk on clips, so you must not have done more.
Calling for arms shipments to Israel to be stopped. Even in Israel, some activists marched towards the Israel-Gaza border, calling for an end to the siege. Their signs read, "By land and the sea, break the siege," and "Hands off the Samud flotilla." A sentiment that's growing around the world among people who feel their governments are complicit in the genocide. Sama bin Javed, Al Jazeera.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. So
that's where we're going to.
Anyway, now let's move on to some domestic incidents. Okay? No, I'm not going to watch PlayStation State of Play. Don't be crazy. All right. Jimmy Kimmel. We're going to be talking about Jimothy Kimmel. Okay? Jimothy Kimmel defends free speech, takes aims at Trump in Return to Late Night show. And obviously, there's a lot to talk about on this front. I think it's like, it's just, there are parts of it that I thought was so fucking lame. Thread doesn't even put a dent in all Hassan has done. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about Jimothy Kimmel. For those of you who don't know, Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air due to pressure from the administration in a direct violation of the First Amendment. The FCC does not have any power over the content beyond like censorship over slurs and things like that. And yet the head of the FCC, Brendan Carr, who in the past had openly admitted that the FCC has no power for censorship due to the political nature of the commentary, decided to take unprecedented action and say, well, we don't like this guy, we don't like what he had to say, and his like incredibly timid monologue about Donald Trump not really giving a shit about Charlie Kirk's death, and said we're going to do this the easy way or the hard way when referencing Jimmy Kimmel's monologue and demands to take him off the air. Let's take a look at what has taken place since then.
Again, Jimmy Kimmel, he is back on late night TV. I know you've heard about this nearly a week after Disney suspended him after an outcry over his comments about the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk. Now, in his monologue, Jimmy Kimmel did not apologize. He took some jabs at his critics, but he was still off the air in several cities where dozens of ABC affiliates refused to run the show. Jonathan Bigliotti has more from Los Angeles. Jonathan, good morning to you. I can't wait to hear the reaction to his return last night.
And Gail, good morning to you. Last night's show was emotional. It was passionate. Ultimately, it was a tribute to free speech. Jimmy Kimmel has hosted nearly 4,000 shows. Last night's was perhaps his most consequential.
Motherfucker cried, bro. He cried. On the one hand, it is a direct shot at free speech. Being in the crosshairs of this administration in this way is not great, no matter what your financial status looks like. Okay? On the other hand, I can't, as someone who said, I defend Jimmy Kimmel vociferously, unconditionally, it does piss me off a little bit. It makes me a little bit resentful, because while it's good that public pushback caused the corporate overlords to reconsider leaning into the administration's ridiculous demands, I wish that level of discontent would be applied to issues of consequence beyond a popular and wealthy comedian getting taken off his late night show. Make no mistake, I'm not saying this is irrelevant, okay? I'm not saying that at all.
Greeted by chants and a
no one is going to be as hyper aggro as you. You're not right. There are plenty of people who are just as understanding of the severity of the crisis that we're tasked with communicating. They just don't live in America. Americans are not all there. Your hate for the libs is a bit much. Not everyone is as dedicated as you, or at least us, towards politics, no matter how much you would like it to be. Jimmy is kind of a normie. Can a man not say there are also, in the exact same vein, there are also other victims that are being unjustly prosecuted by this administration in the exact same way? Just because many liberals don't give a shit about that doesn't change that reality. My goal is to try and get those people to understand that Mahmoud Khalil is also important. Okay? We cannot just drop those who are more defenseless than the likes of Jimmy Kimmel. That's it. Because if this administration is still reactive to the pressure campaigns that are launched, and if corporations are still reactive to the pressure campaigns that are launched, okay, then obviously when there is a lack of pressure against certain groups of people, when they are also unjustly prosecuted for their First Amendment, for exercising their First Amendment right to speech, then you're basically training the government to think, yeah, it's okay if we just clap a couple migrants. Immigrants are not worthy of the same protections. That only allows the administration to directly erode the First Amendment, and they will come after American citizens once again. They shouldn't come after non-citizens regardless. The Constitution protects them as well. This was a perfect demonstration of my anger as well, where CNN's Jake Tapper went on the Seth Meyers show and said it was pretty much the most direct infringement by the government on free speech.
Thought it was pretty much the most direct infringement by the government on free speech that I've seen in my lifetime.
Yeah. That's a crazy thing for Jake Tapper to say. Your liberal normie coworkers thinking this way requires you to go, hey, by the way, there's actually, a lot worse shit happening as well. Just so you know, if you're pissed off about Jimmy Kimmel, wait till you find out about this or that. Jake Tapper knows about Mahmoud Khalil. He knows about Rumeysa Öztürk. He knows about Mohsen Mahdawi. He knows about numerous non-citizens with documentation, okay? Migrants with a proper documentation to be here, getting locked up, detained. Do you understand? He knows that. He's covered it. Mahmoud Khalil was thrown in prison for 3 months for protesting Gaza, and the day ABC pulled Kimmel off the air for 2 episodes, a judge upheld Khalil's deportation. Rumeysa Öztürk was kidnapped off the street and imprisoned for writing an op-ed on Gaza. I feel like I'm going insane, says Adam Johnson. The class solidarity in this clip could power the sun for trillions of years is truly obscene. The most important rule to avoid all of these hazards, per usual, is to first and foremost make sure you are in the club. First, they came for the Gaza protesters, and I said nothing because I'm a racist company man who mostly thinks they had it coming. The Biden administration also did this to Sam Husseini, for example. This was under the Biden administration. This was a direct attack on free press, on press freedoms. And that wasn't also covered. That also did not see the same level of scrutiny. Okay. Now, I understand how people operate. Okay. I understand how people operate. Jimmy Kimmel not only is a very famous guy, but Jimmy Kimmel was also taken off the air for expressing the most timid analysis. Okay. For having a very popular position. So, of course, it is a lot easier for people to see themselves in that perspective. My job here is to try and explain to you that if you also recognize right from wrong, if you also understand what's going on in Gaza is unconscionable, as many Americans do, as the majority of Americans do, then recognize that this level of prosecution is the same exact erosion of liberties, the erosion of the freedom of speech that you think you have, that will inevitably come and knock on your door, okay? I'm not just going to sit here and be like, they don't see non-white people as people or whatever, okay? I'm not going to say that, but this is a good opportunity for people to try and recenter the conversation against the people that are expressing popular discontent that this administration is trying to pack up.
It was a triumphant return for late-night host Jimmy Kimmel.
I'm happy to be here tonight with you.
An emotional Kimmel took the stage for the first time since his nearly week-long suspension following comments he made about the assassination.
Why not say it is true? It's because it's not a very good way to galvanize liberals, okay? That's why. Sometimes you have to manage the way you talk about this stuff. I know people will get mad and be like, oh, don't be inoffensive to the racist sensibilities of liberals or whatever. But like when you are trying to convince people, sometimes it's better to use honey than vinegar, you know?
Nation of conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
That it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it.
In his monologue, Kimmel took aim at his critics, saying he felt lucky to live in a country where he could speak freely.
This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
I want to see the whole monologue. I want to watch the entire thing here. The OG video, I think, has like 17 million views or something. Unsubbing, I require ultra-leftism 24/7. I never leave my house, though, because outside is too capitalist. Yes. Thank you for your service. He's a sensitive person, which is not, I know. I will say this much, okay? Liberal.
Breaking news.
What is this? Jimmy Kimmel is back. Wait, what the fuck? It starts off here. Okay, listen to me. Listen to me. Mainstream liberal voices' inability to address egregious violations of the First Amendment when the targets are people that they don't consider to be important is truly an issue, because it allows the permission structure of the administration to expand. These guys didn't go after Jimmy Kimmel first, right? They went after those voiceless people first, or people that are not exactly considered. Do you understand? So when Seth Meyers or Jake Tapper or numerous other people like Chris Hayes, when they're having these conversations and they make it seem like this is the first shot against people's freedom of speech, they basically allow that permission structure to stay. They allow some targets to be valid. It is upon all of us to ensure that this is not the case. It's on all of us to talk about all of the other people that aren't, famous millionaire comedians. And the reason why we have to do that is because this administration is not going to stop. Is it a better country to live in if your fucking neighbors who aren't super famous comedians get packed up for expressing popular discontent? Is that a better country to live in? No. So it is upon all of us, especially those with a platform of prominence that speak to a lot of these liberals, to also correct the record.
From Hollywood, it's Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Like, I wish when Jimmy Kimmel came out and was like, listen, I'm not the first person that this administration has done this to. I'm the person with the biggest profile that this administration has done this to. And therefore, we have to fucking keep up. We have to keep resisting the administration. We are a nation of laws. We are a nation of rules. The First Amendment must be protected. And it must be protected not just for people like myself, but for people like Mahmoud Khalil as well, who on the day of my cancellation, on the day of my suspension, was slated to be deported. Like, that's crazy. Too pro-Palestine, no. I know, but like, this is a popular position, okay? People need to be more bold.
Thank you. Anyway, as I was saying before I was interrupted, please choose to do it.
Like, this is, dude, stop. Don't say shit like this either, please. Like, again, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, okay? You can't just be like, dude, Jimmy Kimmel's a fucking white supremacist. Like, shut up. Just stop. Don't do that. Shh, it's okay. Sometimes, even if you're directionally right, okay? Even if you're directionally right, it's better to message a little differently, okay? Yes, these guys don't give a fuck about Gaza. It is true. They do not give a fuck about the genocide that is going on. It is true. Or even if they do care about it, they care more about keeping their positions of power, keeping their positions of prominence. So they'll play along. But you don't, you can't just come across in this moment, especially when this is a big W for people getting together and being like, this is unacceptable, and then turn that into a bad thing.
I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on it.
Bro, he loves crying, dude. He does. He does love crying. It's ironic because a lot of the hatred that people have for Jimmy Kimmel is quite literally because he cried on camera about his son's like diagnosis or something, right? Didn't his son have cancer or something during COVID? And they fucking hated that. That's why they never forgave him. All of this like anger and resentment from the right towards Jimmy Kimmel actually comes from him crying one time. His son had a heart condition, yeah. Which is so crazy that they just like, they never forgave him for that. They were like, this fucking guy, you're fucking joking? No, literally. Because he was like a big COVID guy. And part of that was because his son had like a heart condition and he was scared for him. And he like, you know, showed real weakness and humanity for a moment. It is still funny to me that he's just like that. I mean, this is, you know.
To say and do tonight. And the truth is, I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like something clear, because it's important to me as a human,
dude, look at
and that is, you understand. I don't think there's anything funny about it.
The heart condition had more to do with the health insurance, I'm pretty sure. Oh, wait, that makes it even crazier. Wait, that makes it even crazier. They were mad because he was crying about health insurance and shit. God damn, Republicans are such fucking monstrous animals, dude. No, well, I don't remember that. I remember it being something COVID related. He went full Dean. You never go full Dean. So stop. What is this? What is this? You have no way of understanding this, but having children changes you in this particular way if you're not a sociopath to begin with. Wait, what? I'm not making fun of him for crying about his child dying, dude, or potentially dying. What are you talking about? I'm making fun of the Republicans for literally making him public enemy number one. Do you not understand what I'm laughing at? I'm laughing at the fact that they're like, understand why Jimmy Kimmel got suspended for 2 episodes. Okay? He got suspended for 2 episodes, not because he said something that was like really bold or really radical or anything like that, or if he like dunked on fucking Charlie Kirk or some shit. He got suspended because conservatives hate him, and the Trump administration is like desperately trying to find anything they can to make the conservatives focus on like another vector of hate. Okay? And the vector of hate in this regard was Jimmy Kimmel. But one must ask the question, why conservatives hate him? And a big part of the discontent comes from, which is insane to say, him crying on a monologue because his son had a fucking heart condition and he was scared. That is an insane thing to get mad about. That's crazy. It was about healthcare because heart surgery saved his son's life, and he said everyone should have access to the same healthcare. What an insane thing to just be frustrated and make him public enemy number one over. Anyway, let's continue. More comedy chops, man. I wish he had more comedy chops and was like, y'all are fucking crazy. And he just blistered the admin, you know, and was like, the fuck, turned around and literally was like, listen, this is a message for all the Republicans. If you fucking get rid of me and I don't know, put like Benny Johnson in my stead, do you think that your pockets are going to hurt any less? Wake up. He has an incredible opportunity to address the nation here. Okay? He can just turn around and be like, wake up. Yeah, you don't like me. Who gives a shit? I don't like plenty of people. Understand why this administration decided to exercise some kind of fucking petty vengeance against someone like myself. And then he did the compilation of all the Charlie Kirk AI videos, you know, and be like, do you think that's respectful to Charlie Kirk? I don't think so. Nobody seemingly gives a shit about Charlie Kirk. They just want to yell at you. They want to divide us on some invisible political boundary, because every single person, maybe not myself because I'm a super wealthy comedian, my name is Jimmy Kimmel, but every single person that's tuning in has economic anxieties and frustrations. And they were so frustrated that they voted again for this fucking buffoon. And this fucking buffoon that has come into power has created this unique, unstable environment that is not addressing those economic frustrations at all. So, in the absence of offering any sort of positive change to make sure that your housing is stable, to make sure that your grocery prices are fucking more affordable, They're just going to keep doing dumb shit like this. And if you don't wake up to the reality, before you know it, you're not going to be able to afford anything, okay? And you're just going to be sitting around angry, hoping that there's, I guess, more Benny Johnsons on late night television, as though that's going to fucking do anything for you.
I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love. And
weren't you just talking about attracting liberals with honey law? I don't think that would go over well. What are you talking about? What do you mean? He's not really a political commentator? Come on, dude. You don't have to be a political commentator to address these things. This is real. This is just a thing that people experience. Is this not something that you feel? Do you feel like anything I said was just like brilliant? No, it's just, I'm just addressing things that people feel. You don't have to be a fucking a brilliant political commentator. I myself am not a brilliant political commentator. Yeah. Grocery prices are rising at the fastest rate since October 2022. Groceries are also 29% higher since before the COVID-19 pandemic, according to CPI statistics. The unimaginable and unprecedented level of control that advocacy organizations have, the unprecedented level of influence that the lobbying arm of the Israeli state has over politicians who are desperately and actively refusing to listen to the very reasonable concerns of the American population, the attacks that the administration is making towards what it has declared anti-fascist. You know who's an anti-fascist? Your grandparents. They fought the Nazis. They were the original Antifa. You know, things like that could be cool to say, I think, in this moment. I thought we all hated Nazis. Now we're talking about criminalizing people who hate Nazis. Leads me to believe that there's only one thing that this administration wants, which one direction that they want mass mobilization to go. You know, if you're anti-fascist, then you're a fascist. Could be cool to say in this moment. Who knows?
Cancer research. These are
before you guys also fantasize about what liberals can and can't say, or what kind of reaction that this would invoke in the population, both in the live audience that's watching Jimmy Kimmel, or also the much broader audience, the much larger audience that has watched Jimmy Kimmel since the release of this, understand that people would go nutty if he brought up Israel in a positive way. If you fucking think that your neighbors and regular ass Americans are not more mad than the way that the liberal media has framed this issue, you are wrong. How many fucking grandparents do you have to see at these protests to recognize that, like, no, a lot of Americans are pissed off. Americans are insanely angry about this shit. And it is up to a lot of liberal voices that have platforms of prominence, platforms of influence to recognize that discontent.
a selfless.
When I heard this caused me to realize something very interesting. Did you guys know that despite the fact that obviously Jewish comedy writers are overrepresented in rooms, there is not a single, I thought Jimmy Kimmel was Jewish. There's not a single Jewish late night TV host. Think. No, seriously, think. Jon Stewart is the exception, and he changed his fucking last name to Stewart so he would come across like a wasp. His last name is Leibowitz. Seth Meyers is not Jewish either. No, Seth Meyers is not Jewish. He has a bit about it. I don't think Seth Meyers is Jewish. Conan O'Brien? You think Conan O'Brien is Jewish? His last name is O'Brien. People are saying Bill Maher. Why do y'all think they're Jewish? Obviously they're not. Did you know that there's not a single fucking forward presenting late night, like major late night TV show host that is Jewish? That's crazy to me. When Jimmy Kimmel was like, oh, as a Christian, this is what I believe, I was like, what the fuck? It just struck me as odd, and it made me realize America truly is a WASP supremacist nation. Once again, people are saying Jon Stewart. Yes, Jon Stewart. He literally changed his fucking last name. Okay? He literally changed his last name so he was more WASP adjacent or Catholic adjacent. It's crazy.
Act of grace.
The whole segment is trash. Okay. Well, anyway, while this comes across as a big W, and in some ways it is, because it just reveals, I think it reveals a weakness that the administration has. You missed a lot. Seth Meyers is Jewish, by the way. Am I mistaking him with someone else who has talked about how people assume he's Jewish, but he's not? I feel like I've listened to him in a podcast, but it could potentially be, no, not Seth Rogen. What's the guy who's married to Olivia Munn? John Mulaney. Yeah. I think John Mulaney has talked about people thinking that he's Jewish maybe, but I think Seth Meyers is not Jewish. He's a WASP. His wife is Jewish, and he has actually talked about not being Jewish, but that his wife is. Because remember, I'm a goddamn nerd for comedy. I love this shit. So I've listened to all of these guys. I've listened to all these guys talk about their background, talk about their personal experiences, and I'm pretty sure Seth Meyers has said that people assume he's Jewish, but he's not, but his wife is. He even made a joke about like leaning into it or something in entertainment, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, it don't matter. Seth Meyers is of partial Jewish descent, but was not raised Jewish, and his wife is Jewish. Thank you. Also, someone corrected me on my Jon Stewart lore. I apologize for misinforming people. Jon Stewart apparently changed his last name because he was estranged from his father at the early age of 11, and therefore he did not like his last name, Leibowitz, and not for any other reason.
One thing people think they know about me.
Yeah, this is what I've heard. I've seen this bit. Okay, it is Seth Meyers. Okay,
that is wrong is I am not Jewish. All Jewish people assume I am Jewish because of my name and my face and everything about me.
I've literally listened to this.
My father's father was Jewish. My mother could not be less Jewish. For example, the other day she said, as long as my kids are happy, I'm happy. So my wife is Jewish. And her parents were so excited when they first met me. They were so happy that their daughter met a nice Jewish boy. And then I had to break the news to them that Seth Meyers was not, in fact, Jewish. And that is very unfair to them because to be named Seth Meyers and not be Jewish is false advertising. But I will say, over the course of the 5 years I dated my wife before we got married, I think to my in-laws, I became to them. One thing people think they know about.
Jon Stewart also said the other thing, too. You weren't wrong. Let's fucking go. How dare you question me on my fucking knowledge? How dare you? I'm a fucking ball knower, bitch. Double vindication. Oh my God. Could let me know if my reasoning is correct. One, the Dems could be considered far right in Europe. Doesn't the Republicans calling every minor left-leaning opinion radical left just show how far right they are? That every other view is categorized as radical left? Yes. I know ball, baby. I know ball. All right. All right, here, we'll watch the fucking lame thing at the end here. For non-citizens of the Burger Reich, what is Tylenol? Tylenol is acetaminophen, also known in the rest of the world as paracetamol.
Have your baby take Tylenol. Don't give Tylenol to the baby. Don't give Tylenol to the baby. Don't give your baby Tylenol. Don't take Tylenol. Don't.
He really, this is not like edited to repeat the times that he said don't take Tylenol. This is unironically how many times he said it.
Guillermo, do you know how many subscribers we have on YouTube now?
Anyway, that's it. It's all right. I mean, there's good parts in there, and then there's like cringe parts in there. But let's take a look at what the real brave truth tellers had to say about Jimmy Kimmel getting taken off air and then coming back.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
This whole Jimmy Kimmel situation that is happening right now.
Yeah, wild.
Very wild.
Oh, Trump also responded. Hold on. Where is it? Is this it? No, this is the UN. What was Trump's response to this? Does anyone have the link to Trump's response to this? I'm coming after ABC. I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled. Something happened between then and now because his audience is gone and his talent was never there. Why would they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not funny, and he puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democrat garbage? He is yet another arm of the DNC, and to the best of my knowledge, that would be a major illegal campaign contribution. I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative. A true bunch of losers let Jimmy Kimmel rot in his bad ratings. ABDNC. It's no longer ABC. It's ABDNC. Of course, it drew record ratings in his return from suspension, but that's a given. But once again, Donald Trump like openly expressing his anger and resentment that they are not doing his bidding. That they are not doing his bidding. And what do you say? I mean, this like, I guess this kind of is like reminiscent of the petty grievances demonstrated by former tyrants. You know, it's just how I think when people have awesome power with no setbacks, with no checks whatsoever, they just kind of lean into this petty shit. It's just, this is yet another instance of the Turkification of America. As I've talked about quite a bit, Erdogan, his first act in a country that doesn't have free speech anyway, was to literally sue cartoonists and satirists for depicting him as an animal, like putting his face on top of animals. Now he arrests en masse any kind of political opposition he sees fit, including active politicians that are very popular. So it takes a while to get there, but this is why I am very fearful, and this is precisely the reason why I was talking about the Jimmy Kimmel stuff in the way that I did, talking about the dangers of this kind of thing, no matter how silly it seems, while also hoping to bring more people, now that they are paying attention to the censorship regime, bring more people on board to help them recognize that we have tremendous corporate consolidation in the media, and there are certain things that you are not allowed to say regardless, and Jimmy Kimmel basically demonstrated that. No statements on Israel whatsoever in this circumstance, because it's like that is the one area that you can't really fucking speak out against. Even though it doesn't matter. There is a lot of motion in that direction, and it would be great for these guys to recognize that.
Wild. Okay, first of all, the FCC is you have to have a license to broadcast, which is kind of crazy when you think about what that means now. Because, like, what does it mean? It used to mean that you used to have a license to broadcast because you were going to influence so many people. They had to make sure that you were on the up and up, right? So they had to make sure that you didn't swear. So if you had a license and you were on CBS or NBC or ABC, you could not swear, right? That was the rule. And then on came cable. And somehow or another, cable
changed the game.
Is a different thing, right? Because cable, you just you have to pay for it, I guess, so it's different. And so then some of the channels you don't have to pay for. It used to be the only ones that swore were like HBO, where you had to pay for. And then all of a sudden it became kind of any of them because they realized, like, hey, we don't, like FX, we can swear, guys. Like, we only don't swear because we want to think of ourselves as TV.
Right.
But HBO was like, you know, with The Sopranos, with HBO comedy specials, in the beginning, that was a big one. You could just swear. Movies, you didn't have to bleep anything out, just wild. And so these, what you're dealing with even, like, first of all, I definitely don't think that the government should be involved ever in dictating what a comedian can or cannot say in a monologue. That's fucking crazy.
It's crazy.
Now, if the problem is the companies, if they're being pressured by the government, so if that's real, and if people on the right are like, yeah, go get them, oh my God, you're crazy. You're crazy for supporting this. Because this will be used on you. You don't think that the fucking globalist lizard people who run the world are sitting here going, great, what do we got, 3 years? We'll wait this out. We'll wait this out. Yeah. Let them say the government should be involved in censoring people's speech. Yeah. Let them support that. Let these fucking dumbasses, because Jimmy Kimmel's a leftist, let these dumbasses think it's a good idea and we should celebrate.
That's the most toxic shit I keep seeing online when people are like, yeah, shut him down.
So going back to this Jimmy Kimmel thing, there's a lot going on with this.
Do you know him, by the way, or
yes.
no? He's
radical leftist Jimmy Kimmel, dude. How fucking warped are you? Also, I do love Santino, or Andrew Santino. You hate him? Wait, why? I think he's fucking hilarious. You have to also remember, they're paying the piper. They have to fucking suck Joe Rogan's toes. Come on, man. Stavros does it too. That's just a thing that you have to do, okay? It's the easiest layup for every comic. Let's be real. Some of them do actually push back on Joe Rogan's mania every now and then, but
good guy. Jimmy's a good guy. He's a smart guy. He's a funny guy. He was always very funny on when you know he did that fucking Windy City Heat thing.
I love that. It's such a good movie.
Santino's been a Trump guy for a long time. What? When? What the fuck? You just made that up, bro. That is not even remotely correct. I don't think he's like a card-carrying leftist or anything like that, but he is a libtard for sure. Watch his podcast. No, he's apolitical, but has like libtarded leanings for sure. You're wrong if you think that he's a Trump guy. What, you think anyone that is a fucking comedian that like makes the easiest, bare minimum, lowest common denominator Asian jokes against his Asian co-host is actually a fucking Trump guy? What are you, crazy? So I'm finding out one of his faves is bad policy. I wouldn't say he's one of my faves, but I think that this is yet another instance where like leftists who unironically just like despise comedy and don't actually spend a lot of time around like normal people forget that like in the normal world, people's considerations for other marginalized communities is not so heightened as it is in this community, or I guess like the circles that you frequent online. Yeah, they do this about Shane Gillis too, where they're like, oh, he's a Trump supporter. Bro, stop defending trash comedians. Oh my God, I don't care one way or another. I literally don't give a shit if you don't like him. Everything I've seen of his comedy, I have liked. I also don't fucking care if you don't like him. Yes, he is a reactionary that must be prosecuted. Okay. One of the worst aspects, one of the most consequential aspects of comedy in the podcasting era has been, well, one, it's like made comedy overall much worse. Okay. But one of the most consequential aspects have been that people who don't understand the medium at all have a say in this, and they unironically think that these people are demonstrating their sincerely held beliefs when they're attempting a bit. A lot of people don't understand that the personal politics of someone can be quite different from the way that they're presenting an issue. That's number one. But of course, I get why you couldn't comprehend that, because you don't think that this person is doing a performance, because the podcasting medium has basically changed that dynamic in its entirety. That's number one. And number two, when a comedian is putting out jokes, it's like a fucking musician putting out an album. Not every single part of the album is going to be bangers. Some of the fucking songs you're going to skip. There are very few albums that are all hits, no misses. However, when a comedian actually has a miss, you think personally that is a sincerely held belief that the comedian had, and now they're being reactionary. This is a real issue. This is why I always do the Hasanabi Autism Power Hour, where I try to describe to people like that this is how comedy works. This is how jokes work. Okay? A good comedian is capable of touching on sensitive issues without offending people because they're making them laugh. But if you are actually touching on a sensitive issue and you fail to make people laugh, all of a sudden you're a fucking racist. That's how it works. Okay? Once again, your album take is your absolute worst take. You just don't like music. Oh my God, bro, come on.
I think he tried to distance himself from that.
Oh, big time.
He's like very, very, very successful because it's a 25-year prank.
What's his name? Perry Farrell?
Yeah. No, let's not mention him.
Okay.
Because
I know.
litigious. Let's just have people go find it when he said Heat. But you see that and you go, oh, that's the same guy? Like, yeah. Well, so one thing that does happen to guys as they get older is, they soften their ways and they change who they are.
This is the white moderate rhetoric? Yes, dude. White moderates, all of them. Famously apolitical white moderate. Shane is a Trump guy. The fuck are you on about? Oh. You're literally doing the thing that I was trying to explain, which is that comedians, their output is not the entirety of their personal politics. They are trying to entertain. If it's not for you, it's fine. You just move along. Okay? Hassan loves to defend his fellow famous men, though. Exactly. There is a definite cynical purpose here because I love defending famous guys. That's classic. It can't possibly be that this is an issue that I have explained every single time, so much so that there is literally an explaining jokes autism power hour segment that I do all the fucking time. Okay? Yes, I know Shane Gillis did a podcast with a neo-Nazi who sent me death threats and talked about me. I know. I don't give a shit. I know. Yeah, he hung out with Sam Hyde. Yeah, I know. People want everything to be a fucking think piece. I know. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so did Adam Friedland. Well, I don't think he talked about me with Adam Friedland, but still. You're a comedy bro, a debate bro, and a gym bro, and a debate bro. Why do I watch? Because I'm not a debate bro. I am a gym bro, and I certainly am a comedy bro, though, for sure.
Change how they interface with the world, and and then if you're in Hollywood, you're also addicted to an ideology, and it depends on what kind of style you have. So if you have a funny, mocking style that is like satirical, that's always making fun of things tongue-in-cheek, like Norm Macdonald, perfect example. Norm Macdonald, even if he's making fun of you, is not going to piss you off to the point where you tweet about him. Because if you do, he kind of won. He kind of got you. You know what I mean? So it's like Kim.
You remember that thing you used to do almost every day a few years ago where you had to tell shouters to stop moralizing why they don't like stuff? We got to go back to that, Lamau. I mean, I kind of mention that all the time. Why is your take about Dave Chappelle different, though? What do you mean? My take about Dave Chappelle is not different. It's the exact same take. Dave Chappelle literally could not let go of the transphobic side of his fucking commentary. So much so that his entire commentary turned into cancel culture and how the fucking wokes are ruining comedy. That is the poison pill for all comedians. Okay? That is the unironic poison pill. My anger and resentment towards Dave Chappelle is because of how prominent and how important of a comedian he was early on in his career, as opposed to what he has become. My expectations are much higher from someone like Dave Chappelle. That's what this is.
Has this sort of go fuck yourself style. Look, it's kind of ironically, he celebrated in his monologue when Tucker Carlson got fired. It's kind of a problem. Yeah. And it's also kind of a problem that he, in his monologue, talked about how it was the right thing to fire Roseanne.
Yeah, I remember that.
A little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
A little bit of a problem.
Interesting. When did Roseanne get fired? And why did Roseanne get fired? Was it perhaps because the administration at the time was applying pressure from the FCC to fire Roseanne? That would be quite weird if that was the case, considering that it was under Donald Trump. Donald Trump was the fucking president, Joe. Did he fire Roseanne? Did he demand the firing of Roseanne? Or was Roseanne fired because she was saying insane shit? Calling a black woman a monkey and shit. Like, yeah, that's the reason. And the reason why Fox News fired Tucker Carlson was not because of pressure from any administration, but because the fucking owner of Fox News was frustrated with the level of prominence that Tucker Carlson had. And also, he was costing them billions of dollars with the Dominion shit that was going on. So that's probably a big reason when you lose $1 billion fucking dollars because you are knowingly lying about the outcome of a fucking election in an effort not to lose your fan base. Yeah, that's probably going to be a fucking reason. Don Lemon was fired and you never hear libs holding water for him. Exactly. That's crazy, man. The fuck are these guys doing? These are not comparable instances.
Also a problem that he thought he made a joke about the unvaccinated people shouldn't get hospital care if there's people who are vaccinated that need that room. I think the joke was, oh, vaccinated person who's had a heart attack, come right in here, sir. Unvaxxed person who gobbled horse goo, rest in peace, Wheezy. Like, that was the joke. Like, I'm unvaxxed.
I'm telling you, this is why they wanted fucking Jimmy Kimmel. This is why they see Jimmy Kimmel as a primary op, dude. Just a whole litany of different nonsensical bullshit that is irrelevant in the point of contention here. only to then turn around and be like, and my personal anger towards Jimmy Kimmel is the reason why I'm looking the other way here.
Vaccinated. And I was like, that's kind of a fucked up joke, but I'm not mad at him.
No, it's a joke.
It's just a joke.
It's a joke.
But it's like, those things weren't a problem. But this one thing where he said it was a low point. What did he say? I want to be real clear. Let's like pull up his actual quote, because what he said was not bad. It wasn't accurate though, but it wasn't bad. He was just trying to set up this joke of Trump, which was good.
It was a great joke.
It was very funny.
But the setup was a little wonky. I do remember listening to it.
It was also like it's the problem with doing it that way on Monday is that by Sunday night they already knew that this guy, his family had been saying that. Again, I don't even know if he really did it.
Oh my Lord, brother. What do you mean? Oh, I don't like the way he set up the joke. It was misinformation. Joe is the fucking last person on the planet to be the guy who dictates the truth. Okay? By design, Mr. fucking ivermectin, Mr. The only thing I will actually debate and not concede on is vaccine efficacy, should not be the primary, the sole dictator of what gets to be said that is truthful and what's not truthful. Come on, man.
But this person who they're...
Yeah, Mr. fucking why does it lie when talking about a YouTube title. Mr. We should actually make it illegal to fact check people. Oh my God.
Talking about
the plant,
this person who they're talking about, whether or not he did it or didn't do it. Well, the FBI is now investigating deeply and further, by the way.
Yeah, we'll find out.
So Kash Patel did say that. Whatever that means.
Yeah, that was
okay.
It's a weird phrasing when he goes, they're trying to pin it as anybody but them.
Yeah.
Asserting that he was a MAGA
Well, this is the thing. In the beginning, people thought he was. So the first reports were that he was a hardcore right-wing guy. That he was a registered Republican, which he may or may not be. Sometimes people go back and forth, you know. And then the other thing was that he was a groiper. So he was a Nick Fuentes fan. That was some other stuff that was going around.
What's groiper?
Oh, by the way, Joe Rogan also doesn't trust the official government narrative on the Charlie Kirk assassination, which is excellent. You did it. You guys did this, okay? You did this. Donald Trump, congratulations. You fucking did this, okay? No one trusts, no credibility to the institutions whatsoever, because how the fuck do you expect people to trust the institutions when it's motherfucking Kash Patel leading the FBI, the least trustworthy person I've ever encountered, okay?
We'll get into that in a bit.
Okay.
Hold, please.
Yeah.
Then it came out that, no, his father is a law enforcement guy?
I don't think that's true.
That's not true?
I think that's what that was part of the story, but I think later found out that wasn't
Right.
true also.
So
what's true?
Some family members, by Sunday, the Utah governor was saying that family members were reporting that this young man had been wrapped up in some very hardcore leftist ideology. So this had already been released on Sunday. So on Monday, if Kimmel had just said...
Wrapped up with hardcore leftist ideology. Okay, dude.
You know, it was a tragic thing that Charlie Kirk died. And let's see what the president thinks about it. Goes right to him. And like, what this is the fourth stage of grief.
It's a great joke.
It's a great joke. The whole thing was great. But the problem is we had already...
Yeah, it's not confirmed that he's right-wing. It's confirmed that he's left-wing. He's radical leftist ideology. And as a radical leftist, he was also pro-Israel and possibly a shooter that was working at the directive of the Israeli government, which is a famous radical lefty thing.
Known by then. Again, at least the narrative is that this kid is not a MAGA.
I like that he just flipped the script on this, by the way. No, the narrative was that he was fucking a radical lefty, and it turned out that might not be the case. By the time that Jimmy Kimmel was talking about it, which was the correct statement that he made, which was that these guys spent the entire weekend claiming he was not in any way, shape, or form connected to their cause or connected to, it was one of theirs. That's what they did. They spent the entire weekend doing that. Whether it turned out that those statements were correct or incorrect doesn't matter to the subject. Anyway, Mr. I think fact checkers should go to prison.
Joe Rogan Experience.
He set it up in a way that, like, okay, you're saying something that's actually
weird details about the Charlie Kirk assassination. This is from 1 day ago. Already has 3.5 million views. Let's fucking go, fam.
factually inaccurate, according to the narrative. Now, let's be real clear. I don't necessarily think they know what's going on yet. There's a lot of weird shit going on with this.
I know.
First of all, there was that.
Bro, I'm telling you, these guys have bricked their brains. Okay? They have bricked their brains so hard that it is literally impossible for them to correctly analyze the situation. And they are too susceptible to misinformation. This is a major weakness. Okay? This is a major weakness for the right. So much so that unironically, it's literally easier to just lie about a situation instantly if you're like a liberal and just be like, nah, this guy was a right-winger. And these guys are more likely to believe that narrative. It already happened. It already happened. Half of the right decided that this wasn't like sufficiently attacking trans people. So they were like, I'm questioning the official narrative. And then the other half of the right was immediately like, no, Israel did this. Israel did this. Israel did this. And that is part of the reason why. And then liberals were also immediately going, this is a groiper. This is a groiper. This is a groiper. So there was so much misinformation in the immediate aftermath of the shooting that they couldn't even come together on an official narrative that actually helps the purpose of the right here, like to design this as like an Antifa operation that took place, and that's why we have to fucking we have to deal with Antifa. It's so crazy. I never thought I would see the day.
One guy who is the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? He took his pants down. This guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombings.
All the hits.
He called in a fake bomb at another place. And then he did this at this.
No, he wasn't at the Boston bombing. He did a fake bomb threat to, I think, a Utah marathon. He wasn't at the Boston bombing, but he did a fake Boston bombing style threat.
Thing. Right after, so somehow.
And I don't think he was at 9/11 either.
Or another, this guy has
I
the
forget
state
what his
of
connection is to 9/11 though. I think he had some. He wasn't at 9/11, but he had some connection to 9/11. I forget what it was. I think he was like, I don't know what it was, but he said something about 9/11.
mind that the moment someone gets shot, he yells out and says, I did it, and takes his pants down or something like that. I don't know exactly what he did. Then, ready for this? He gets arrested for child porn right away.
Right after this happened?
Oh, right away. He's in jail for child porn. Why is that? Well, now you can't interview him.
Right. Right.
Right. And because when the internet people start going, how are you at all these different things? Like, what are the odds? Like, if someone ran it through one of the ChatGPT fucking perplexity things, like, what are the odds that this guy would be at all those different events and be involved? Like, zero.
Again, Joe Rogan presents misinformation about a super weird guy who played a super weird role, super suspicious role in this, right? That part is true. But he presents a bunch of misinformation that he just half remembers or misunderstands, and then is confused and scared by his own misinformation that he just presented. Dude, think fucking critically, man. Please. Some of the stuff that he said is true. Like, the guy volunteered the information to law enforcement at the hospital that he had child pornography, CSAM, child sexual abuse material, on his phone. The guy did also come out and said, I did it, and I would do it again. And even said, kill me, shoot me, drawing a lot of attention in the immediate aftermath of the shooting. This is strange, okay? And he has some kind of connection to 9/11, I can't remember. And also, he did do a bomb threat for a separate marathon, not the Boston Marathon bombing. Do we know if he had CSAM? Yes, he did. He said he had CSAM on his phone, and then the authorities looked through his phone and found out that, yes, he did have CSAM on his phone. It was crazy. So that guy is mentally unstable, and it's strange that in that moment, he actually offered protective cover to whoever the shooter was. Okay? That's weird enough in and of itself. But it's really funny that Joe adds a bunch of other shit that he misunderstood and then gets scared by it. Okay?
This is the guy.
Yeah.
I just like that the pants down part is just insane to me. It's like, why is your dick out, dude?
I did it. Listen, I'm not saying this guy isn't insane. He's clearly insane. Or not. Or he's professionally insane.
Right.
That's where it gets squirrely.
I almost texted you when the Charlie Kirk thing happened because my antennas went up about, they showed the photo of that kid, or the guy that they have, the 22-year-old, whatever. And I was almost going to be like, dude, you think he's got the capability to do that?
Yeah, well, listen, there are people that look like that have the capability to do that.
Pretty accurate.
Nope.
No?
Not hard. Not hard at all.
Hard.
Let me dispel that. Okay. 200 yards from a prone position with a dead-on rifle. So if you have a dead-on rifle, so you set this rifle, you set your 0 to 200 yards, right? You know how far you're going to shoot. It is not hard at all.
He shot a lot?
You don't have to shoot a lot. So I could do it tomorrow.
If you're no, but you are experienced. If it's someone that's never shot, could they do it?
100%. Not
Really?
if they've never shot. They wouldn't know where to look. They'd have a hard time acquiring the like when you look through a scope. Like when the reticle is weird. Like it's sometimes
takes a minute.
You got to know the distance that you have to be from it to really line it up in your sights. But you could get a guy like my friend Andy Stumpf, who was a sniper in the SEALs. You could get him, and he could show you how to do it in an afternoon, and then you could hit steel at 200 yards every time you pull the trigger.
One day you could learn
Yeah.
that. Wow.
Yeah. Not that hard.
Because it feels insane to me. I'm like, that seems tough.
It seems tough. We still haven't figured out whether or not the gun that shot Trump had a sight on it. Because we weren't sure if it had a sight on it or if this guy was using iron sights. That was 140 yards. If he shot it with iron...
No, he had a scope on the weapon. Bro, what is going on? There are weird things about the situation, but it is so hard. God damn, dude. There are already enough suspicious circumstances surrounding the incident, but it's so hard to accurately understand what took place when it's motherfucking Joe Rogan talking about this shit. Oh, he's talking about the Trump shooter. Oh, my bad. I misunderstood. He's talking about the PA shooter. I thought he was talking about the fucking Tyler Robinson again. Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I apologize to Joe Rogan for this dilution. My coworkers listen to this guy, Lamau. You really are the Joe Rogan to the left? Classic. I
Sights,
know.
that's a lot harder. Because iron sights is you're lining up. So you have these two things in the back and there's one thing at the front of the barrel. And you got to line.
There's a video going viral saying the whole thing is fake. 5 million views in YouTube in 2 days. Candace Owens is even wondering if there was a trapdoor underneath them. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That's awesome. Fucking hell yeah, dude. What are you going to do about that?
Line those bitches up perfectly, and that's how you stay accurate. That is a lot harder to do.
It's like old shotguns have those, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Pistols.
Yeah,
Like
pistols
you
got
buy a
them.
Glock,
Yeah.
that's what it comes with.
Right.
But this kid had a rifle with a scope. Now, here's where it gets weird. The first images of this rifle with a scope, I swear to God, it looks like he has a composite stock on it. Like it looks like a modern 30-06 rifle. So a 30-06, so that's the rifle. 30-06 is like, that looks like a very modern looking stock. I mean, it might not be. It might be just a bad resolution. It might be wood. It's hard to tell. But if you showed me that and you said, hey, this is my cousin's rifle, is this any good? I'd be like, looks like a standard bolt action rifle with like a sophisticated modern scope on it. Sure. Now, apparently, the narrative is that this is his grandfather's rifle from World War I and doesn't have a serial code. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. Why? Wait. Why are you using such an old gun? Like, that's kind of crazy. Like, is it possible that an old gun can be that accurate? If you have a gunsmith and they work on it, yeah, it's totally possible. You have a really good gunsmith and he sets, if you're like a nostalgic person, you like driving an old car, you could bring it to a mechanic, they could redo the brakes.
Sure.
So if you got a good gunsmith and he took a look at that and the action was true and, you know, the bore is good, you know, yeah, you could conceivably shoot with a gun for hundreds of years, right? Guns They don't necessarily go bad.
Right, they don't expire.
Right, and especially because all this stuff, like the trigger and the action and all that different stuff is replaceable. So you can just like, it's compartmentalized. It's components. That's the other thing. They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the fuck up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
To disassemble a gun.
To disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not going to fit.
Not going to fit in a backpack.
And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof? What? What's that about?
Is that what they pitched, huh?
Yeah. And then he's supposed to get it in that stupid fucking backpack. It's literally, it makes no sense.
Dude, one of my favorite aspects of this story has been all the gun tubers being like, the official narrative presented by the FBI is so fucking stupid. Okay? This has been one of my, I told you this already. As soon as I saw some of the claims that were being made by the FBI, I was like, there is no fucking shot that gun tubers, who have massive right-wing audiences, of course, were going to take the official narrative and run along with it. Okay? It just does not make any fucking sense. And these guys love recreating high-profile assassinations. They are going to endlessly discuss this. They are going to try to recreate it and show that it's impossible to recreate over and over again. This is what they do. This is their bread and butter. They're gun sexuals, man. It was so dumb for them to not wait a couple days and reveal accurate information about accurate information about the gun and what took place, because these guys are gonna fucking obviously go through it and discuss it.
Eyewitness to 9/11, which is weird, this guy, the old guy. And then he was arrested for threatening to bomb the Salt Lake City Marathon finish line in 2013. This is George Zinn, Z-I-N-N. There's so many different things, and I get it.
Believe me, I'm always the last person to be like, okay, buddy.
That's the odds of that are in the billions.
They said that's like 0.00007% likelihood that this guy was there for 9/11. He was there for Charlie Kirk's murder, and there was a third component. He was there for some.
He was. I think he was arrested for terrorism. Allegedly.
Listen, if there's anybody that doesn't go down the rabbit hole, it's me.
My goats. When the goats talk, you listen. Okay, that's called valuetainment, baby. It's called goat talk. And when the goats are talking, we shut the fuck up and we listen. Okay. Yeah, Candace Owens is running around talking about a trap door potentially. Candace is basically saying, do I have evidence Charlie Kirk was killed by a shooter who hid behind a trap door beneath his feet? No. But it's alarming that the federal government hasn't investigated this because that's what happened. She's insane, says Pedro L. Gonzalez.
Pipeline.
Is she insane, or is she the most sane out of all of us? Oh my God. It's hard. It's hard for me when the administration is so desperately attempting to create a profile of the shooter that will allow them to stamp out any sort of leftist opposition. It is so hard for me not to lean into these guys who are very clearly destroying that narrative every single day with their ginormous audience of right-wingers. Okay? Oh, that's fucking hard for me. Hard for me to look at this, give horse, I guess, and say, no, the teeth are perfectly fine. I'm going to look at the gift horse in the mouth and say, no, the teeth, not so great.
Almost exactly behind where Charlie was sitting. Here's that maybe it's a water pipeline. I don't know, but there it is under the flag. And to your right.
My favorite version of this was they were saying that the auditorium, like the outdoor seating that Charlie Kirk was at the center of, looked like the candles that you light during Hanukkah, a menorah. Fucking awesome, dude. Respect to the mentally ill. You know what I mean? Shout out mental illness, dude. Y'all are really cooking with gasoline. Okay.
I went into my tips line and I saw that somebody had messaged me about this. More than one person messaged me about this. They're like, hey, yeah, there's like a whole underground thing there. And to your right, you're observing those two little boxes. And they told me that was a trap door. Now, I'm not implying someone, popped up and shot Charlie, but that's a close-up of that area. I'm just implying that there's an entire underground there. And
Dude,
I remember,
Hamas tunnel or the same kind of tunnel system that we saw in New York in the Chabad tunnel, like the ones we saw in Brooklyn. I'm just saying. Here the tunnel continues. Yeah.
When I looked at the footage, I felt like it was coming up. I don't know anything about ballistics. I'm not an expert. But if there was a hatch door nearby, then we can assume, as we should always assume, with
oh yeah, this is where Charlie Kirk was sacrificed. Bro, come on, bro. Come on, bro. That's crazy. Oh, hell yeah. People have fucking lost their dang minds. There's not really much you can do in this situation. You know what I mean? Okay. All right. Let's keep it going.
colleges, obviously stadiums, there's always an underground path. So I'm wondering if the federal government has explored the possibility that somebody could have been under Charlie and done that. While everyone's looking around and thinking that a shot went off from here, if that was just maybe like decoy number 2 and actually Charlie was shot from beneath him, which then could maybe explain why there was no exit wound. Again, I'm theorizing because I have a right to. I have a right to think.
Yo. She has a right to think. That's true. Hey, more power to Candace Owens. Okay? Listen. More. She has a right to think.
And that is interesting to me. Where does it go?
There was a Twitter response to that photo also saying, I'm a literal Nazi and I think this is bullshit. Yeah.
Where do the tunnels underneath UVU lead to, right? That's an interesting question. Maybe everyone's looking up when we should be looking below.
You can't stop calling her Clandis. I don't know what you're talking about. I never did. This is an issue of utmost importance. Breaking. Candace Owens was able to speak with the man who recorded the alleged footage of Tyler Robinson on the roof before the shooting. His testimony completely contradicts everything we've been told by the FBI. His footage was recorded just 20 seconds before Charlie Kirk's assassination, according to the timestamp. He allegedly saw the shooter holding a smaller firearm and believes Charlie was shot with a lightweight bullet. This witness also provided a description to law enforcement that was never released to the public. He says the assassin was wearing tactical gear, a face mask, and looked like a foreign agent. Wow.
Very much, and maybe this is a poor way of saying it, a straight shooter said, yes, I have training. And I don't want to give too many identifying details here, but this person himself has a lot of experience with guns and knows guns and, helps to train people in that sort of a capacity, and said that they observed that individual, the FBI saying that the shooter dropped onto the roof at 12:15 didn't make sense to him. He said earliest it was 12:22 that the individual ran across.
This was a tactical style individual that was doing a tactical ascertainment in the moment.
Set up, took the shot, and I said, well, you must have been there, because he then sends me I wanted to see all of the metadata of when he took that footage, and the metadata begins at 12:22 and goes into 12:23, the very minute that Charlie gets shot. And he says, yeah, I saw the shot. I had just stopped recording about 20 seconds before the shot rang out. And he said that he told them a description of.
I never saw coming to the whole deep conspiracy nature of the Trump supporters might backfire, gives hope in a weird way. Yeah, that's why I'm just observing. Not everything needs a reaction. Sometimes it's okay to just admire from afar. Okay? I'm just observing. I'm tactically ascertaining. I'm tactically engaging in the act of observation. You can sit back and observe sometimes. Okay? That's what's going on here.
What the shooter looked like, and it was not the description that the entire world received less than 24 hours later of this person, Tyler Robinson, wearing jeans. I said, was he wearing jeans? He said, no. Actually, this person was dressed in tactical gear and he was wearing a face mask. And he said, according to him, and like I said, he has a lot of experience with guns, that this person looked to him like a foreign agent. I don't know if he's wearing all black, how he got that, but he said there's no
I believe him. He looked Israeli. Oh, it's awesome. Dude, the amount of mental illness I have seen about the Charlie Kirk stuff on the timeline, where the administration is like so desperately trying to create this perfect narrative about Trantifa, and these guys are like, nope, not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. There is so much. Nope, that was definitely, he's Mossad. He's Jewish. I know, because he was wearing a kippah. That's right. It's pretty crazy.
He was very certain that this person was skilled, knew exactly what he was doing, and was highly trained, like a highly trained assassin, so to speak. Okay.
Being white is so OP. Nazis will invent false flag to get you off charges. Oh, yeah. No, you saw what happened once they found out that he wasn't just any kind of white guy, but he was the type of white guy from like a MAGA loving Mormon family. Everybody literally was like, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Oh, God. We got to pray for his soul. We got to pray for his soul, man. Like, we got to pray for his goddamn soul. Okay. You understand me? It's amazing. That's all it took.
He then says something else. As soon as George Zinn got arrested and that started circulating, he ran to someone on campus and said, this is the wrong person. I observed this person with my eyes. You have the complete wrong description. The person you're looking for is wearing tactical gear and is obviously young, because I watched him sprint back after taking the shot. I saw this with my own two eyes. And for whatever reason, that never made its way out that we can see of a description of a person wearing tactical gear. We're kind of left with this idea that he was wearing the now infamous veterans shirt with the American flag on it and some jeans. So he also said something that we had not heard, which is that he knows guns, and the gun that the FBI found was not the gun that he saw, that the gun that he saw was smaller. And I'm going to read you directly a text message that he sent me, again, protecting his identity. He said, watching the video of the impact, hearing the sharp crack instead of a big hunting rifle's boom, and seeing what looked like a shorter rifle platform, albeit with the absence of the shape of a standard 30-round magazine, the assassin may have used a 10 or 20-round magazine, only expecting to shoot once or twice. I would guess that he was shot with a Hornady V.
No, I can't watch that, bro. That one has 5 million views. That video is just blood and gore. I'm pretty sure that fucking video,
ladies and gentlemen,
straight up shows step by step the like all like frame by frame. It shows the exact moment where he's like shot and like blood pouring out and all this stuff. So I can't. Oh my lord, he has literally. There's a photo of another random guy who's been shot as well, talking about how. Oh fuck! It has 5.2 million views in 2 days, though. I kind of want to watch it. Tom, please look up Explore Talent and how Candace Owens and Erica Kirk were a part of it. Erica also worked for Trump at 17. They opened a Christian ministry in Romania where they had kids going missing, which were mainly orphans. There's a crazy person in here. No, that is another thing that people are talking about. Erica Kirk was Miss Arizona for when Trump owned it. Okay, owned the beauty pageant. That's true. I'm not entirely certain about the Romania connection, but I do know that she did move to Arizona because her parents were working for the Department of Homeland Security. So that part is correct. The Trump connection, I guess, is correct, but I'm not sure about the Romania angle. But her parents were in the DHS. They got a job in Arizona for that reason. And that's why she moved to Arizona. And they did meet for the first time ever. Her and Charlie Kirk actually met in line to take a flight to Israel. That part is also correct. But I'm not so certain about the... can you watch the Rain Day Bro video? I can't because it has fucking so much gore, man. I don't know what's going on. What was the additional context that made the weird cop speak Discord make sense? Oh, I watched Tyler Robinson talk to the police in a accident, like in a car accident in 2022, and he does unironically talk like that. It's not even a joke. It's safe after 6:30, or if you cover 80% of the vid and only show the dude talking. Okay, you know what? Fuck it. Let's watch it, dude. Fuck it. YOLO. This video has 5.2 million views in 2 days. Okay. Another GunTuber guy, his name is Range Daybro. I'm not going to show you the actual incident because he like straight up shows it. I think he shows it like, I don't know exactly when he shows it, like maybe around here. But I guess like he starts showing it like immediately in like 40 seconds.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now have acquired proof that the FBI's official story is false, whether knowingly or unknowingly. We're going to have an entire monologue and talk about a lot of these things after I show you this. But if you take nothing else away from this video, you need to see this.
And in that video, you can see the same, what appears to be the bullet coming down.
Wait, okay, first start here. Rough start. Big major proof instantly. Major proof that he has is a fucking TikTok video of someone talking into a toilet microphone.
And it does line up with the actual gunshot itself. So you're not counting gang violence. Great.
So then this video already got debunked. This guy thinks he sees blood from behind, but it was his earpiece. Yeah, actually, honestly, I don't want to fucking watch this because I'm worried about getting banned for exposing the truth. That is, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth watching. But I mean, a cursory glance here talks about how the bullet trajectory is exactly the opposite direction. And that's his assessment, is that like there's a second shooter and the guy that they got is a patsy. And most of it is actually showing the blood and gore and stuff. At 6:30, he shows a pic of the second shooter here. We'll just show
Ladies and gentlemen.
He believes that there's a second shooter. Okay. He believes that there's a second shooter. And that part starts here.
Charlie Kirk. I want to take a look at this photo next. This guy's talking about this bush up here in the top left of this photo, and he zooms in on it, and he's stating that it does look suspicious. It does look suspicious. It looks like there is a person right here, and it looks like there is a rifle right here that the person is holding. A hand here, support hand, sort of very blurry image, but you can clearly make out that this is not just a bush. This is a human skin tone right here, and this correlates with human head and hair. And
does he actually go back to the shooting at all? No. Okay, from this point on, he doesn't show
a rifle in the exact kind of crucifix shape of an AR-15 with an optic on it mounted up. So good on this dude for finding this photo and looking for, like he said, hours of going through photos and videos until he saw this. This would 100% line up with the actual shot that we've now proven was not taken.
Shouted to the set, please close the fridge. Thank you. How the fuck did that fridge open? It was open this whole time. What the hell's going on? Mossad! Did Kaya open it? Did Kaya open the fridge? Was there a tunnel underneath? Anyway, let's continue.
The front was taken from the back side of Charlie. This would line up exactly with that bullet trajectory and the entry and exit wound that we exhibited, that we saw here on camera.
I like that he put the little shooter up there.
So, guys, this is a very heavy topic. I do not want to believe that this is possible, that the FBI either knowingly or unknowingly missed this. And I'll leave that up for you guys to speculate on. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. All I know is that 100% Charlie was not shot from the front. It is very clear that he was shot from the side, most likely by this bush up here, this man in the bush, whatever you want to call him. It has been very clear to me.
That's the big evidence? Oh my God. Let him cook. 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 Yep.
Damn, this guy's good.